Chapter 91. So that's the place, Jackie. I told the older man as we pulled up to the scav den. Ichi and Malcolm weren't far behind. Hiromi wasn't here this time, but that's because she was at school, and super bummed that I had decided to hit this scav den without her. Instead, I had asked Jackie if he wanted to join. Huh? You sure, Hermanita? Doesn't look like a scav hole. Yep. I've still got all their cameras infested. I've already looped the outside cameras, so no worries on them spotting our approach. But yeah, I can see them inside. Here, I'll cut you into the feed. I told him and he nodded as I hooked up our call to show the live feed inside the old office building. Jackie had actually chipped in a new set of optics, and they had a connection speed high enough for me to direct video him. Thank fuck. Not too many of them. Should be easy enough. Jackie offered and I nodded along. Yeah, normally I go slow and take them all out quietly, but considering how small this group is. I shrugged. Loud and quick? That's my normal style, Hermanita. He said, throwing me a big smile. Great. I'll add a tracker into your site for each of them. Let me get my iron, and let's take this place out. I said as I stepped out of the quadra waving to Ichi who was parking just behind me. I went to the trunk of the quadra, popping it open. I really needed to do some work on this. My trunk was a mess. Guns, and ammo, quite a bit of the ammo now loose and rattling around reached my eyes, and I noticed the weapon I was actually going for was stuck behind the big case my Urigan was resting in. Still needed to put that away. Temptation to use it was a bit too much for normal gigs. I winced a bit. My poor Nakomata was jammed behind the Urigan case as well. Okay, tonight I was going to take a break from everything and organize my trunk space. This was embarrassing, but I didn't grab my Nakomata or Urigan. Instead, I grabbed another weapon that would suit this fight. I usually relied on my Barrier because of stealth, but if we were going to hit them hard, then I was going to use something that would keep up with me. I pulled my Nakota D5 Copperhead out of the trunk. The assault rifle was something I had picked up at some point. Was it the first scav raid? I wondered. I couldn't remember. I laughed to myself. I had collected so many weapons I had forgotten where half of them had even come from. I loaded up holding the rifle correctly, in a way that I would be able to quick aim it monstrously fast if I needed, and then I turned to Jackie. Jackie still just had his new. You want something a bit bigger? I asked him, pointing at my trunk, but despite looking a little tempted, he shook his head. This is my shooter, I won't need another for a group this small. Alright. Let's go then. I said, bouncing a little as I started moving towards the gate that blocked off the entrance. The gate was locked, and I didn't even want to open it up yet, considering how old it looked. I'm sure it would be noisy. Or trapped. So I quickly leapt right over it, easily turning my leap into a front flip, letting me land on the other side without a sound, as I fell to my knee, gun raised. I felt so cool. I did my best to ignore Jackie's grumbling as he clambered as quietly as he could over the fence. It wasn't that quiet. Thankfully the scavs inside didn't notice. Once he landed with a thump beside me, I raced off towards the entrance. Rifle held to my chest as I kept low and reached the entrance. I knew from the cameras that no one was inside, but it was good practice to always double check, so I was peeking into the entrance and waving Jackie behind me as I moved in. That, and it felt cool to be all tactical about it. Not that I was going to admit that to anyone. The office was 2 stories, and the scavs were set up on the 2nd floor. The elevator of course would be too loud, but the stairwell was easy enough to reach, and their security wasn't exactly there to help them anymore. I smiled as I tugged on the door, and it opened, locks already disengaged. Nice work, Hermanita. Jackie whispered, and I threw him a smile as we headed up the stairs. Just for fun I leapt, touching the concrete wall of the stairwell and then bouncing up and over the stairs, skipping the whole stairs problem. In just a moment I was at the 2nd floor door, waiting for Jackie to follow me up at a much slower pace. Okay, the Serrano may just be the most fun cyberware I've installed. That included the cyberdeck. Cyberspace was fun, but jump good was cool. Alright Konejida, let's take it slow, for poor Jackie. He whispered when he caught up, and I chuffed soundlessly at him. Even if I had no idea what Konejida meant. Then I blinked and I was looking through the camera that showed the other side of the door. The scav group was small, only 6 chums. I sent the data to Jackie, watching him perk up as he could see the lines targeting each scav shooting through the wall. His surprised look turned into a dark smirk. I nodded and then slammed into the door. No stealth on this run. This was a firepower run. Hadn't done this ever. Rifle raised up, I fired 4 rounds punching through the drywall, and suddenly the light I had been using to aim winked out. Shooting through walls was the best. Jackie was moving new raised as he slammed into a door, already firing at the gonk that was on the other side. My copperhead barked right alongside him. While Jackie was rushing the entrance making a big noise, my gun was just slamming rounds through the thin walls. It was child's play, and I enjoyed the noise of the alerts popping up in my head. The actual fight only lasted a few moments. Between Jackie, who killed 2 guys practically the moment he bum-rushed the room, proving he wasn't a joke as a solo at all, and then my rifle shooting through the walls, the scavs died without much fight. "You okay, Jackie?" "Just a scrape, Hermanita. Won't even need to see Vic." Got stopped by my jacket. He chuckled, flexing his right bicep, where a round had definitely nicked him. I nodded pleased as I went through the area making sure we hadn't missed anyone. Only once did I need a double tap on a scav that was trying to crawl away, leading a pool of blood behind him. "All clear," I called out, pleased at the whole thing. I hadn't really needed Jackie, but it wasn't about needing help for this gig, it was about setting up a relationship. This was the first time I had shown Jackie how useful it would be to have me on a gig. I had set up the location, got numbers and targeting data, solved basically everything to get him right where he needed to be to do the most damage, and most importantly, "Ready for us?" Itchy called out from the stairwell. "Yeah, come on up. I'll get the elevator working." I called back to him, earning a confirmation in turn. "So now what?" Jackie asked, looking around at the few crates of chrome that was now all ours. "We wait around while Itchy and Malcolm load up. Just make sure no scavs show up and ambush us, and then we go home, have a party, and let Hiromi sell the chrome. We get our cut and prep for the next gig." I told him, and he blinked at me before laughing. "You got yourself a nice little system then, eh? Who registers the bounties?" he asked, and I frowned confused. "Bounties? On the gonks? Most of these guys have a few hundred eddy in bounties, you know?" "Oh yeah. The bounties. That I totally register, with the NCPD. Right?" I winced as Jackie gave me a look. Then he burst into laughter. "What? I don't usually concern myself over a few hundred eddies. Plus, you have to call the NCPD for that. You never registered bounties?" "Nope. Well, I called the NCPD once on a scav den, but I was just letting them know there were bodies there. I dealt it right after." "Heh, geez, you clear out a scav den in seconds, but then you go and say things like that. Reminds me you're still a kid." Jackie chuckled, but I wasn't laughing along with him. Damn it. This was supposed to be my chance to show how useful I was. I sighed and shook my head. At least I had my 4 alerts for XP to tide me over. 500 XP gained. 500 XP gained. 500 XP gained. 500 XP gained. To my surprise, Jackie actually stuck around after we loaded everything up. He even helped out loading the chrome, which went much faster with his strength. Thanks to his work, we were done at lightning speed and on our way out of the den. As we drove away, Jackie made the calls to the NCPD bounty office, letting them know about the corpses, what they were up to, who they were, and that meat wagons would be needed. Then as we dropped off the loot at the TC-owned storage lot that was still under our control, Jackie still stuck around. I was watching as Jackie joked with some of the TC enforcers, hanging around getting laughs out of the entire group, despite there being a large Tino-shaped Jackie in the middle of their turf. "What's got you so focused?" Malcolm asked as he walked past me with an armful of guns. "Formerly scav iron. Jackie. I expected the TC guys to be more aggressive about him." "Well, he did come in with you, and he's pretty friendly. Plus the fact he looks like he could take all of those guys at once means they probably don't want to cause problems." "Yeah, I guess, but I don't think they are afraid of him, they are just enjoying his banter." I chuckled as Jackie's story ended with him throwing his arms up to mimic an explosion, and all the guards laughed. I just shook my head. Jackie really was the type of guy to make friends with anyone. Alright, Motoko. All done. Ichi said, walking up pushing the hand truck he had just unloaded into the storage unit. Jackie. We are all stored up. I called over to the older man and he nodded to me, telling the guards one last joke as he walked through them and joined up. All done then, huh, kid? Yep. Now we just need Hiromi to set up the sails, and Ichi and Malcolm will help haul stuff around. Thanks, guys. I said, turning to the two that had to haul heavy crates of stuff around. Both scoffed and laughed at me. We have the easy part, you have to go flatline gonks. Want to hit the club tonight? Ichi asked and I shrugged, but before I could say more, Jackie was there. Of course, little Chico. Hermanita, how about you all come by the El Coyote, eh? We didn't party together last time, but my mama owns the Coyote, so why don't you three come by and we can celebrate? Malcolm and Ichi were already nodding, looking interested, but I was more surprised that Jackie actually invited me. Well, but last time he hadn't been very interested in celebrating. We were just a bunch of teenagers after all. Sure, Jackie. I'll come, you guys? Yeah, always nice to celebrate on the boss's dime. Malcolm said specifically, throwing me a teasing look. Now Malcolm, Hiromi isn't here, ow. Motoko. Ichi grumbled, rubbing his shoulder where I slugged him. I'm calling Hiromi and specifically telling her you guys are cut off from any alcohol on our tab. I threatened them, hand on my hip and chrome finger wagging, with something that doesn't really exist, but both boys plays along and whined to me. Jackie just laughed. El Coyote Kojo was a Tino bar. As we all walked in, I felt my nose wrinkle a little at the smell of cigarette and cigar smoke. Just like most bars here in the city. Gonna need some chrome lungs at some point just to avoid the second-hand smoke. Nice place. Malcolm offered as he swaggered in and up to the bartender, who quirked an eyebrow at Malcolm walking up to look at the drink menu. Let me get a Diente Dorado. I'm not paying tonight after all. He said, choosing the most expensive drink on the menu. As Ichi, Jackie, and I walked up, Jackie got a few calls from regulars, and he was smiling and relaxed. This was his place after all. He settled into the seat. Pepe. Take care of my little chums, alright? Sure, Jackie. Diente Dorado, coming up. I dope slapped Malcolm, but let him order his stupid drink that had literal gold flakes in it. Probably tasted disgusting. I'll just get a soda. I think there was a Nicola machine over there. I told the boys, Malcolm and Ichi already familiar with my no alcohol thing. What? Hermanita, you don't want a drink? Jackie asked, surprised at my words. Yeah, I don't like drinking. I told him as I slipped off the bar stool and wandered over to the back of the bar to get a drink. It took me 2 tries to get one that I could drink. Nicola Classic tasted like cough syrup. I was not someone who could recreationally drink cough syrup, so that was an instant pass. With a different flavor that I could stomach, I joined the boys that were happy with their own drinks as Jackie was talking to Pepe about the gig. They all started screaming as I bashed in the door. I flatlined 2 of them right quick, but by then, the rest were already done. Chica could shoot them straight through the walls. The walls were just drywall, it was an old office building, it wasn't anything spectacular, anyone could have done it. I added as I took my seat, Pepe chuckling at the story as Jackie kept trying to hype it all up. What's all this? A new voice called out, and from the front came in a woman that I sort of recognized. Jackie's shout just confirmed it. Mama! Come meet my little chums. I've told you about Motoko here already, yeah? The girl is more dangerous with an iron than anyone would expect from a teenager. And these are her chums, Malcolm and Ichi, good kids, they helped gather up all the eddies. Jackie said with a boisterous laugh. Oh, this is the girl that works with Wakako? Mama Wells asked as she looked me over. I waved a little from around my soda. My little chums. This is Mama Wells, the owner of El Coyote, and my mama. Jackie said, leaning back against the bar. Well, if you are chums with my Jackie, you are all welcome here. Pepe, don't overcharge them, yeah? You got it. The bartender offered with a nod. You've been doing work with my Jackie? The woman asked me and I nodded, throwing up a thumbs up. Yeah. We both go to the same ripper, and Jackie wanted work with Wakako, who I already work for. So I asked Wakako if we could do some gigs together to see if we click. I've been looking for someone with a more aggressive look. Can't rightly intimidate some gonks if you are half their size. I deadpanned, waving my arms at myself. Mama Wells laughed a little. The one thing God gave my Chico was an intimidating frame. The woman offered, nodding along. What? Mama, God also gave me my baby blues, and a sweet voice, yeah? Of course, dear. Mama Wells agreed, without doing anything of the sort. I snorted into my drink as Jackie was teased by his mother. This was nice. Still wasn't sure it was a bar I would want to relax at all the time, but then again, I wasn't really interested in bars in the first place. We hung around El Coyote for a while drinking and swapping stories. It was nice. Jackie felt a lot more accepting of me now, and I was tempted to ask what had changed. The last time we finished a gig, he hadn't been interested in celebrating, but now he was. So maybe I had finally reached a point he felt I was worth being friends with? I didn't know, and I didn't want to ask, because that just felt a little weird. Still, I drove home, gig complete and feeling pretty good about murdering some more scavs. I had some time, no gig set up for the next while. Other than helping Hiromi sell even more of our chrome, I had nothing else planned. So it was time to play. I rushed into the door only to stop, because June was home, and he wasn't alone. Ah. Look, June, your cute little sister finally came home. How terrible to leave her big brother all alone at home. Akari, you were here the whole time. June grumbled as he sat on the couch. To my surprise, he was on a laptop that wasn't mine, and reading something. Hey June, what's Akari doing here? Rude. The board grumbled, and her narrowed eyes told me she was probably going to stab me at some point tonight. Akari failed to finish a task for Fujimura-sama, so I'm out. Don't tell her that. Just tell her you are helping me. Akari hissed after stabbing June with her pointy feet. Akari fucked up and I'm helping. That's even worse. Okay. I chirped, deciding to ignore that entirely. Unfortunately, Akari was taking up my spot on the couch. It wasn't like the apartment was big enough for so much sitting room. Grumbling, I went into my room and got more comfortable, taking off my boots and collecting some things I would need before heading out. June was still working while Akari fucked around, not helping. June, do you need help? My brother looked up slowly from the laptop, his eyes a little bloodshot, which was impressive, 'cause those weren't natural eyes, but his optics. Yes, please. Hey. I'm helping. Yes, I need help, thank you, Motoko. June repeated, ignoring Akari. Okay. I said, then, because it was fun. I leapt, doing a flip and landing on the back of the couch behind June and Akari. Both Borgs jerked at my sudden move, but June relaxed with what I could tell was a roll of his eyes, even if I couldn't see them anymore, as Akari slowly lowered her feet. I rested against June's back, my chin on his head as I looked at what he was working on. Budget report? Akari is supposed to be watching over a business for Fujimura-sama. I am. I took out 3 guys that were stealing. The woman whined. She didn't do the paperwork. June said, grumbling as he continued looking over the budget reports. I spouted gibberish, pointing at a number that wasn't right. June looked it over, sighed, and quickly fixed it before continuing down the file. Why did Fujimura give this gig to Akari if she can't do it? Ugh. Don't say it like that. I can do it. I just didn't. She was supposed to learn about the company and get better at management, improve her usefulness to Fujimura-sama. Okay, you are ignoring everything I'm saying, and I get your siblings, but it's starting to piss me off. We continued to ignore Akari as she grew irritated. Okay, I know you guys didn't go through 200 lamps. So I'm guessing this is drugs here? I asked, pointing at some of the numbers that were obviously off. I can't confirm. June said with emotion that had me rolling along with his shrug. Okay, well. I'm sorry to say, Junie, I don't have the experience to help you with this one. I inform him, patting him on the head as I stand up and with a quick leap land back on the apartment floor. Thanks. He grumbles, and I couldn't help but giggle. He was trying to help his chum, but sometimes you gotta let your chums live with their mistakes. Instead, I reached over and grabbed my laptop and music box. I really wanted to finish this stupid thing. I popped open the laptop and started programming, doing my best to ignore Akari doing everything in her power to get attention. Chapter 92. 2 days of programming and I was done. My music box, or at least the code, was ready. I just needed to finish putting it all together. I flopped back onto the couch and just groaned. You would think coding something like this would take less time than a quick hack, and in some ways you would be right, but this was sorta complicated. A quick hack only did one thing: this box needed to be flexible. I ran through my head what parts one would need, and that list started to grow. But it would be worth it. This was my pet project. Sure, it was a glorified toy, but it was important for me to finish it anyways. I got up to get dressed, stopped, and realized I hadn't showered in. Okay, so it's been 2 days. I wince as I was very thankful that June hadn't noticed. If he thought I wasn't taking care of myself, he would be upset. I took a quick shower, and then realized I really needed to eat. Okay, downside to be constantly inspired. I was gonna have to start setting alarms if I was going to code anything. I finished getting dressed and headed downstairs. Meatstick Stall Guy was outside the apartment like usual, and I ended up devouring a few of them before I felt better. Now that I was properly taken care of, it was time to get back to it. To finish the box, I really needed some specific supplies. I headed out driving to the music shop I had bought my guitar from. As I walked in, the first few chords of Never Fade Away played above me, something that still made me chuckle a bit. Johnny would be rolling in his digital grave if he realized that samurai were practically corporate jingles now. I walked right through the many instruments laying around until I found what I needed: a synth keyboard. I popped my personal link into the slot to check if it had everything I needed. You obviously know what you want. A voice called out, and I looked up to see the salesperson. The guy looked like a 40-year-old rocker stuffed into a corporate uniform. His bushy beard completely covered the lanyard with his name on it. Yeah, just checking the code to see if this is the one I need. Oh? Looking to make some digital music, huh? I just need to replicate a lot of different instruments. I offered, and he nodded before pointing above me. If you want a wide selection, you want the digitizer. The enumeral you are looking at has a real wonky brass selection. He offered, pointing to another synth. Oh. Thanks. I muttered, pulling out of the synth and moving to the next, after a few checks including running a few riffs on the keyboard because I had the ability and it was fun. I nodded. He was right. The brass notes sounded better. Damn. Was that Chip Pinnin? Rare to see a kid these days know the classics. He said, and I just smiled with a shrug. Samurai were good. Johnny might be a bit of a bastard, but he knew his music. Huh. Spoken like a true rocker boy. You lookin' to take the DG? Yeah, I'll take it. Thanks. I'll take that amp and a few bits and bobs as well. You guys don't happen to have a hollow emitter? Oh? Looking to make some bitchin' visuals too? Unfortunately not. Instruments and supplies only, but I know the place my band bought one. Just don't tell the bosses I told you to buy from them. He said with a wink, and I laughed at that, and made the promise. Back home, I was taking up 90% of the couch, and 100% of the table as I worked everything together. The synth had a personal link port, so with the coding of that, and literally ripping the instrument apart and hooking it into my music box, I now had the ability to play just about any instrument purely through my link. To save size, I kept the speaker and amp as separate items, but there was another thing I needed to hook directly into the system. 3 holographic display emitters. They were a cool piece of tech. A lot of places used holographic TVs, the tech was well used, and it didn't take me long to hook them into the music box. A bit of soldering, a bit of fitting things together, a bit of adjustment to the power links, and they were in. Once I finished it, I sat back enjoying the alert telling me I got a few blips of XP for my tech attribute. But not a level up. I really needed to work with tech more. It was too useful to ignore. But I ignored that because it was done. Well, part of it anyways. The code was complete. The hardware was put together. But now I had to actually create what I wanted using what I had. First thing, I went into my room and dressed up. Brushed my hair. Did some makeup, which took a while, because I hadn't exactly practiced doing any makeup since I woke up. But I managed it. Making my eyes pop a little. Wearing a clean leotard and even cleaned up my jacket before slipping into it. Okay, then I went back out and had the music box actually record what I looked like. Standing still as the emitter slowly ran a scan over me. Creating a 3D image of myself that it could add into whatever holographic display I wanted it to show. Of course, right around then I realized I would need images of the instruments as well. Damn it. I rushed back to the music shop. Carrying in my music box, I ended up dropping a couple hundred eddies to the music shop guy to let me take scans with all the instruments, particularly the best quality, or coolest looking ones. Once more back in the apartment, I was ready to start my first test. I decided on a song and went to work. Plugged my personal link into the music box, and started with the most important part. The music. With my guitar in my hands, mostly just to let my hands play over the notes, I started recording a track. The sound of the guitar played back into my head sounded great, any error was easy to cut the correct chord back in, and I was off. Finishing the song with the guitar without any issue. I had played it a few times with just that already. Then I switched to drums. Mentally creating the track. Using the synth to recreate the noise of the drums as I played through the song, adding in the drums to the guitar track. Something I couldn't do without all my rockerboy knowledge. I had never touched a guitar set before outside of playing around in a past life, or while getting scanned in this one, yet I knew exactly how to use the synth to create a digital track. What notes, and how to get the sound right. It all flowed together. Then I had to stop and do some work on creating unique sounds because some of the sounds used in the song weren't instrumental. I had to use my own programming skill to alter the synth's programming even further, to give me the ability to create entirely new sounds. Sounds that had only existed in my head. Again and again, I played through the song until I had every beat sounding as perfect as I remember thanks to perfect musical memory. Guitar, drums, electronic, even the ending roaring vocals I managed myself. Every sound of the song pulled together completely from my brain, through a machine interface. I loved the future. And it was all silent as a grave outside my brain. As I put the song together, no neighbor heard it. It was just for me, and me alone. I hid behind my new stack of mess on the table when June came home, purposefully pretending I wasn't able to see his judgmental look as I continued to put the display for the song together. I ignored him when he came out later as well, as I was still editing the holographic display to match up. I was watching a visual of what it would show on the laptop as I edited it mostly with my neural connection, which was really tough, but as long as I took it really slow, I could get better accuracy than going through it by hand. The 3 emitters would all have their own image to display, and the track was finished, both with the guitar track baked in, and one without. Just in case I wanted to do a live play of the song. And slowly it all came together. Holographic tech was old hat to Cyberpunk. With my own computer skill, it only took me a few hours to fill in the 7-minute track. Then finally it was ready. A single program with a completed version of a song that I recreated. Every note, every sound, every roar, just how it was in my head. I sat back blinking, realizing what I had just completed. That my music box was finally done. That it was working and everything was how it should be. But I was way too hyped up to not do something. I stood up but stilled. Unfortunately, I was too embarrassed to just go out and start playing. People would see me. So I decided to fall back on my usual solution when I felt an urge to move. Murder. When I sold my debugging services to the netrunners, my trade had been knowledge on scavs. Locations, holdouts, favorite bars. Anything. Everything. Whatever they had. While not all of them had direct scav den locations. A few did. Sure, I could wait for my chums. But it was late. Well, early, the sun would be coming up soon. But they might notice I was being weird. No one can know. If it goes bad, the scavs will all be dead anyways. So I popped a shard into the music box, recording a copy of the song, quickly took a moment to etch the name of the song onto the shard, and went to grab some gear. Considering the nature of the song, my carnage was selected. I didn't use a shotgun often enough. I loaded one of my attachable pockets full of shells and looked around. What else could I take? Katana was an option and I considered it. But I had to shake my head. It would be a little more finessey than I was going for tonight. This music wasn't sword fight music, not unless you were carrying a greatsword or something. Another time. Another song. I did reach over into the medkit that I had been putting together from stuff I've collected. I grabbed all the max stocks I had and stuffed them all over the place, hooking them into whatever place I could. I was looking for a brutal fight tonight. Had to make sure I would walk away in the end. I stepped out of my room right into June, who reached out and put a hand on my carnage to stop me. Motoko? Yes, this is Motoko? What are you doing? I opened my mouth to answer and didn't have a good enough answer. Murder? He frowned at me. Details. I know of a scav den, I'm gonna go murder them. I finished a song, so I wanted to do a BD of me murdering a bunch of scavs while I rocked out to it. It's gonna be cool. I explained, trying to get away, but June wasn't having it. That's. Motoko, you are the weirdest person I know. I'm coming with. No way. I denied instantly. It could be embarrassing. You can't come. Motoko, you aren't hitting a scav den without backup. Why? I usually do. You usually have your chums with you. I don't even know how you keep finding these dens, they are usually hidden. Internet. I said, smiling dopily at being able to pull out an old meme. June didn't get it. Why don't you call your chums then? He argued and I grumbled. I had already explained that I didn't want them to see. Fine. I'll call in Itchy and Malcolm after I'm done to loot everything down. Now you don't have to follow me. My perfect reasoning delivered, I moved to step around him. He didn't accept my reasoning. This is so embarrassing. I muttered as I parked the Quadra in the parking area for Megabuilding H11. I'm just here to make sure you don't get in over your head. June told me, completely uncaring about how much I whined at him, that I didn't need supervision while murdering scavs. I called Itchy and Malcolm. They'll help. You said you didn't want to call them in until afterwards. I don't want you in a firefight without someone to back you up. It's common sense, Motoko. The fact you are so skilled and keep forgetting that is gonk brain shit. He grumbled at me. You want me to trust you to fight, I do. But that doesn't mean you skip basic shit. I huffed, but didn't really have a response to that. Fucking June. Using common sense and shit on me. I don't want common sense. I want action. Whatever. I was a badass merc. June babying me would be water over my back. I stepped out of the car and did the same thing I had done the last time I hit a scav den in a mega building. I found an elevator and went up to the floor above the one that I had been told was the den. June followed me around, much to my irritation. When I was there, I circled the floor, searching for the usual signs, and while there weren't a bunch of emptied apartment buildings like there had been in the last one, they still had a whole section of the building cut off with trash and refuse. That's them. I told June as I pointed to the corner section of the building. This late at night, the whole thing was bathed in red light and shadows, but it was still obvious where the scavs lived. Sure you don't need any help? He asked, sounding more vicious than usual, but I shook my head. This was my murder, get your own. Just sit tight and watch. I told him instead, poking a finger into his side that he slapped away. Then I focused. First I knelt down, and could just see a camera the scavs had set up. As usual, they loved putting up their little security system. Too bad they sucked at it. My eyes blazed as I breached into the camera, nearly instantly slipping through the ICE and then moving through the security system. There were 4 cameras hooked up around the place. None of them showed the actual Ripper room, but that was just common sense. But one of the scavs could be seen, resting on an old couch as he smoked a cigarette and watched TV. I pinged him, letting the program unspool and slowly slip through the scav system to all of his buddies. I smirked as the group all highlighted in my vision. Okay. There were quite a few of them. This was a big den, and it was late. Or early. So I guess they were mostly here resting. It didn't matter. I was already in their system. Weapon glitch was prepared. My personal version of weapon glitch had been completed, and was ready for its baptism. The war will soon begin. I smiled. I was ready. I shushed June and waved him a bit away before closing my eyes. When I opened my eyes, it would be go time. What was the movie term? A single take? I was going to clear this scav den in slightly less than 7 minutes the song would last. No fuck-ups would be tolerated. This was going to be pure adrenaline if I did it right. I smirked to myself. Hopefully the scavs could last long enough. Then I exhaled ice. Chapter 93. When I opened my eyes, I was recording. Staring straight over the edge, to the scavs' home. Not that the people watching this in the future would know that yet. I could feel my breath coming out icy cold, but it wasn't enough to stop the excitement I could feel pulsing up. I pulled the shard out of my pocket. Flashed it in front of my eyes. Looked at the name of the song etched into the plastic. The only thing they fear is you. I slotted it into my neck. A little less than 7 minutes. That's how long I had to murder all of the scavs. Because a moment later the music started. The sound mirroring an ancient, at least by this year's reckoning, musician. I mean, if people considered Samurai to be oldies, then the Doom Eternal soundtrack would be considered the same. Before the song could get going without me, I leapt. My feet hit the ground on the floor below just as the first drop hit, and I rolled forward to bleed off speed before jumping up to my feet, and then I was moving. I didn't care about cameras. I didn't care about noise. I was the boss monster. They would learn to fear me. I blew the door open with my carnage, not bothering with the lock, as I let all my hatred for scavs fill me. Cold blood was all about control. I had only used it in one way up until now. Used it to suppress everything so nothing could interfere with the cold calculus of combat. But I wasn't here for cold-blooded murder. Instead, I flipped the script. I brought out all my rage, my hatred, my disgust for these people. That feeling of horror mixed with certainty that I had to kill them. That murder was the only option. I saw my first scav as I burst into the first room. The details were unimportant, but I noted them anyway. A former apartment now taken over as a recreation room for the scavs to relax in, alcohol and drugs strewn across the table sitting under the hollow TV. As he saw me, I let that rage fill me. As he tried to leap out of the chair at my entrance, it was time. Weapon glitch slammed into his system, bouncing again and again as my entire Cyberdex RAM was used in repeat. I had figured out the best way to make sure no one could shoot me, was by simply hacking them over and over and over again. It was a loop quick hack. Every time my Cyberdeck would get enough RAM to run the program again, it would do so throughout the system without my direct attention. As long as the network didn't alter its security, it would be an endless disruption of weapons. I was already in their security. Their weapons were now useless. The first scav didn't even get a chance to pull the trigger to find out how fucked he was. I leapt a snarl on my face as I cleared the distance. From the entrance to the scav, standing in the indented recreation area, was more than 20 feet across. I slammed my carnage into the fucker's face like a club at the end of my leap. His scream of pain went ignored as I didn't end there. I rolled past him to bleed off momentum, and then I was on him again, fist raised and slammed into his already broken and bleeding face. Again and again. I hammered him. Even grabbing his head and smashing it into the table until I was sure he was dead. Breathing deeply, but not heavily. Adrenaline surged through me. The music was still going, and so was I. I moved. Leaping and practically bouncing off the walls, moving more like an animal than man as I surged into the next room. Leaping through the broken wall connecting the apartments. The scavs were reacting, shouting for help at the sounds of my gunshot, alarmed that something was attacking them. The flipping of their normal predator and prey dynamics as always making them fearful. Their bleeding calls were just noise, telling me where they were. The next room was a ripper room. The stink of blood and dead bodies filled it, but I barely hesitated, leaping right over a ripper chair that had an elderly man laying across it. Body ripped open the face of one of the scav ripper docs, moving away, obviously realizing he was in danger. He screamed as my fist slammed into his face, with all my weight and force behind it. I loved my new ankles. Superman punching a monster in the face was the best. He went down, but he wasn't alone. Carnage flipped up and his buddy who had an Ajax roared as he tried to open fire on me only for his gun to beep and not fire. Mine did. He went down in a torrent of blood as the Carnage turned him into a newly painted wall. That done, I flipped the Carnage barrel up to the ceiling and slammed it right into the face of the Ripper Doc, ignoring his crying pleading for mercy as I continued to hammer his skull into the floor until the metal stock of my shotgun hit concrete. Okay. Now I was breathing a bit heavy. It felt fantastic. I pushed the cold-blooded control even higher. Rage and hate flowed, and it was all I felt. I glanced up to see another scav peeking into the room. The moment he saw me, he made an attempt to shoot me only for his gun to fail. This guy leapt back into the room once he realized it, which is the only thing that saved his life as I brought my Carnage down and blasted where he had been. I charged, leaping into the room he had just escaped into, and came out into a roll. Four soon-to-be-dead scavs faced me. Excellent. I had all the time I needed to aim my shotgun at them and fire. I didn't hit any of them as they fled into cover, but it did make them scramble around. Which is why the gonk that had just tried to shoot me suddenly had an intimate meeting with Carnage-chan. As I slammed her into his face, like a baseball bat. I love this shotgun. Doesn't matter if you literally beat someone to death with it, it'll still fire. But before I could kill him he kicked out, his much longer legs slamming me away and forcing me off my feet for a moment, as I rolled and then came out of it with my Carnage raised. No. What dash? His pleadings ended with Carnage sounding off, followed by the heavy cycle as I cocked the next round. Kill her. One of the scavs screamed out, trying to do just that. They would fail. These pathetic mewling creatures would not kill me. One guy, obviously pissed at what he saw, charged me, a knife drawn and ready. He didn't expect me to charge him back. He knew how to use a knife. I would even say he was pretty good. I didn't care. I wasn't fighting. I was raging. I slammed into him, ignoring how he nicked my side with the knife, the blade skittering off my leotard or subdermal, wasn't sure which as I slammed into him. He screamed as I used one hand to literally slam my thumb into his eye socket so I could grip his face were musical, flowing perfectly into the song pounding in my head as I proceeded to try and beat him to death with the Carnage in my right hand. I ignored his attempts to at first stab me, and then just tried to desperately get me away. Neither stopped me. His death came regardless, as my thumb wormed its way through to his end. Then there were 3, before I could even rise up though. There were once again 4. Sika! A voice roared out, and this time I was caught off guard. They had realized their weapons weren't working against me, but it turns out it didn't matter. Big fucking scav decided to remind me I wasn't invincible. He blurred, a Sandy activated, and suddenly I was the one being punched across the room. Out through a hole in the wall and into the Ripper room I had just come from. I coughed, blood flowed. It hurt, but I would live. I pulled a Mac stock and huffed it, letting the adrenaline flow. I could hear Russian. Scared Russian, and a firm confident voice. Ah. The fucker had taken my Carnage. I added it into the next round of weapon glitch. Then, as the music once more peaked in my head, I rose up slow and steady. They had knocked me into a mess off medical equipment and storage the Ripper room had, so as I stood metal clattered and glass shattered off me. The firm Russian voice from before wasn't so firm anymore. They were looking at me. I cracked my neck, and spit the blood out of my mouth. Big Borg fucker had my Carnage. He aimed it, and like a good girl she just clicked, already disabled. She only had 1 round left anyways. I bared my teeth, a rumbling snarl leaving my throat in time with the roar of the guitar in my head. Then I moved. My speed surprised Sandevistan Skov, but he activated his implant again, probably a fearful reflex, as he suddenly shifted from where he was when I leapt to right in front of me. My leap was aborted, he slammed into me. All too many pounds of him hitting me like a truck, and this time he followed me back into the room, pounding me into the concrete wall in a clatter of equipment. He knocked the air out of me. He hit me hard, hard enough to rattle my head. He had me pinned against the wall as he was already starting to beat on me. Too bad, he hadn't managed to actually kill me. I threw a fist back, and his sandy speed kept him from getting slugged, but that was fine. I had fought people with Sandevistan. The dojo had taught me a lot about how they work. Their strengths and weaknesses. That there was always a time limit, and not every Sandy was the crazy shit that David had. I raised my arms up in a guard as he punched back Sandy speed punches, slamming me back into the wall, and my shoulder ached from the stress of trying to keep my chromed fists from slamming into my own face. It was a moderate success. He hit me again, and suddenly he was moving at a normal speed. Something I had been told. When a Sandy turns off and you go from super speed to normal? In that moment, you felt like you were suddenly moving in slow mo. You felt the shift as time changed. I had spoken with a few people that used the Sandy, and they all said the same thing if you could get them to admit it. The moment the Sandy turned off was their weakest moment. Quick drawing my barrier, I slammed it right into his mouth, before pulling the trigger. His head separated in two from the force. I hurt. My vision was a little woozy, but that was just a concussion, and the BD would still be recording fine. I was definitely bleeding internally. Easily fixable once this was over. Lungs were struggling to breathe. He had knocked the wind out of me twice. But I was in control. I forced my body to breathe. I forced myself to stay on my feet. Because the rage wasn't gone. The scav fell backwards as I pushed him away, letting his bulk fall and revealing the 3 scavs from before. No, it was 6 now. There was a moment of silence. Or maybe that was just my ears ringing. Close-range barrier shots do tend to deafen me for a moment, but as I watched, I smiled. Fear. I could smell it. I took a step forward. Fuck this. One of them screamed and tried to run. I shot him, just to prove a point. Then I holstered barrier and rushed them. The first guy had been smart enough to try and grab a melee weapon. A hunk of wood from a chair, I think. I took the blow on my forearms, not even feeling it compared to the sand scav's hits, and the wood broke apart. So did he, when I reached up and grabbed him by his jaw and started slamming my chromed fists into his face. His attempts to bite down on my chromed fingers were pointless. He fell backwards, and as he fell I jerked his head to slam him into the side of a table. That either killed him or knocked him senseless because he didn't resist as I raised up his head and battered him into the table a few more times. His buddy slammed into me, grappling me as he tried to body me down. I slammed my forehead into his nose, despite how it made my head spin, and started punching. He started punching. Me punching in his throat did more than him punching my face. He gasped as he fell to his knees. I rose up and kicked him across the face, before leaving him to die with his broken esophagus. 3 more to go. They had all grabbed weapons. One had grabbed a knife from the guy that tried that earlier, the other 2 had metal rebar. I smiled out another snarl as I grabbed another max stock in the stillness of the fight and huffed it down. The surge of adrenaline should mask the sudden lowering of pain. I stalked forward, but not towards them. I stopped at where Carnage had been left behind and kicked her up into my arms. The music peaked. I moved. Like she was a baseball bat, I weighed in, blocking the first gonk swing with the rebar, only to leap up and drop a kick right into his nose. I could feel it break on my boots as I flipped back and the other 2 surged forward. I blocked and parried the rebar and knife, keeping the weapons away from me even as my breath came out in a desperate wheeze. Even as I was pushed back and back. They could have had me. They were good. Working together to keep me from ripping either one of them apart. But they had done something stupid. They backed me into a corner. So I leapt backwards. My boots slammed into the concrete wall and then I kicked off, my ankles more than making up my body's weight, launching me up and over their heads. And towards their buddy whose nose I had broken. He didn't have time to react, too busy trying to see through his busted face. Carnage fell onto the back of his head, and something snapped. I hit him again just to make sure. Then turned towards the 2. Carnage shifted to one hand, as I reached to my hip and drew my own knife. Fuck this. The one with the rebar said, sounding panicked as he reached into his jacket and pulled out a fucking frag grenade. He yelled out something in Russian, that I was just going to assume was fuck you, and threw it at me. I dropped my knife. I grabbed my Carnage in 2 hands and knocked the grenade to the side. Then I leapt at them. The man screaming as I slammed into him was a moment I was doubly glad I was recording. We went down in a jumble of limbs as the grenade went off. shrapnel pinging around the room, but I had a gonk between me and it. Unfortunately, the pinging metal didn't actually do any harm to the gonk I was using as a shield. Fortunately, I did. Both hands grabbing his face, I plunged my thumbs into his eyes and with that had full control of his movement. I slammed his skull into the floor using all the muscles I had at my disposal, even jumping, putting all my weight into his skull. I looked up expecting to have the guy with a knife trying to stick me, but he was nowhere to be seen. No one escapes. I rushed to follow, jumping over garbage and the junk the frag grenade had strewn around as he raced away like a madman. He leapt through what was once the front door to an apartment into the hallway splitting the megabuilding's apartments, then raced across the way and into another set. I grinned as he had gathered even more scavs for me to kill. Idly, I slowed and fixed my carnage, reloading her as well, 5 shells in, before pumping her loudly, the noise echoing through the complex. The next room was obviously another rest area. Far enough away the scavs could take a nap without having to hear the ripping of bodies apart, or the screams of mercy, both of which I would make sure they heard soon enough. I stepped into the open door to see the group all readied for me. Guns were aimed at me and triggers were pulled, but other than clicks, or other bad noises, nothing fired. 7. I fired. 6. Madness. They charged me, or fled. The group was disorderly. Despite some of them potentially being ex-soldiers, they were scavs now. Some charged, some fled, all would die. I fired again, and again. Another scav died, as they finally reached me. Swinging a cut-o-matic at me. I instantly fell in love. A chainsaw sword? A chainsword that actually worked? For me. I wanted it. I leapt straight up, disappearing from the scav sight as I lined up a shot. Carnage fired, and he turned into a puddle below me that I fell into. Blood coating me as I fired again, clearing some room long enough for me to bend down and pick up my new chainsword. I grinned ferally as I felt a buzz back up. I leapt forward, dropping my carnage as I slammed into the first scav that was an instant too slow to avoid me. Blood hot and messy coated me as I ripped into the monster's neck. The scavs started running. I chased them, leaping from filth to filth. Their attempts to resist were unable to stall me out as I battered down any defense. I looked around as I grunted, my chainsword was stuck in the head of one of fuckers. Stupid chrome skull. There was still one more. The same gonk that had fled from me in the first place. I had purposefully left him for last, but he wasn't in the room anymore. He was back the other way? Huh. The coward had tried to escape while I was distracted with his chums. Unfortunately, I still had him in my sight. His own agent was telling me exactly where he was. I raced back through the hallway, back into the scav's workroom. The music was building up to the end. And my own voice, demonic and angry, roared in my ears. Rip and tear. Rip and tear. He had escaped back into the Ripper dock room. Into another section that was covered in the plastic sheets to stop blood splatter. He was trying to hide. He screamed as he saw me. As I ignored his attempts to hide from me, I slammed into him like a wildcat. He screamed in terror. A true guttural horror note as I promptly began beating him to death. I smashed my fist into his face over and over as he desperately tried to fend me off. Punches were slammed into my face and chest that I ignored. It hurt, but pain was passing. Murder was forever. Hands balled, I slammed both arms down into his face again until his struggling ceased. Until bone bent. Rip and tear. I said, exhaling along with the song's only lyrics. Until it's done. I whispered, breath hoarse and heavy. I probably had a busted rib in there somewhere, but it was just cathartic. Even if I really shouldn't have enjoyed that as much as I just had. Aha. A voice weak and terrified squeaked from nearby. I looked away from the broken body beneath me. Eyes focused and hand already reaching for my barrier. 6 red optics met my own. Maelstrom. Chapter 94. My heart was suddenly beating in my ears. Teeth grinding. If I wasn't already a bit out of breath, I was sure I would be screaming with every exhale. Maelstrom. My hand instinctively already reaching for my barrier to put the monster down. I snapped my eyes shut. Inhale. Exhale. I opened my eyes feeling at least myself. I wasn't sure if that feeling had been from all the rage I had been pumping into myself, or just Maelstrom. But my hand fell away from my barrier. I didn't need to kill her. The girl was barely alive. Broken. Ripped apart. White Borg blood mixed with red Real blood covered her. I was honestly shocked she was still alive, considering how much blood was dripping from her onto the floor. I stilled everything that I was struggled with a decision. On one hand, Maelstrom. Kill her. Painfully. On the other, she was a victim of scavs. No one deserved that. Funny how my two most hated enemies were responsible for this situation. My eyes flickered as I scanned her. She had a rap sheet. I read it over, still unsure what to do. Natalie DeSanto, aka Gearslot. I said finally, my eyes bored into her optics. As if I could kill her by just glaring. ARU-***D did Camhead send you? She asked, quietly, a desperate hope in her voice. The sound of it left my tongue tasting of ash, and a disgust welling up in me. It's all fun and games to put people in a pit to fight for their life, but get put into a scav den and suddenly they are the victim. I raged inside my mind. My hands gripped so hard I could feel the blood coating my palms run down my fingers. I shifted them, to keep from breaking something internally. No, I was not sent here by some Maelstrom piece of shit. I happily kill you fucks whenever I get the chance after what you monsters did to me. I roared back, my voice throaty and raw. My insides were still not doing great. I should really stop and take some Maxstock to heal up again, but my hands were struggling to do anything but grip my own arms now as I glared at the Maelstrom in front of me. All I could see is those fucking optics staring at me. Oh. She muttered, a raspy sigh escaping her. Figures. I stalked up to her. For the first time in a while, my arms felt wrong. Like just being around some Maelstrom made my phantom limbs act up again, as if I had an extra set of limbs already reaching for her throat to throttle her to death. My head felt quiet. The song ended, so it was just me and her, and the sound of dripping blood. Just me, and her. Her life in my hands. She was dying regardless. Body torn into by scavs. Another victim of them, just as I had been. I exhaled, and it came out more like a growl. But the breath was ice cold on my tongue. Suddenly, I reached out and grabbed her face, uncaring about the blood I left there as I pushed her head to the side. She whimpered in fear and pain. As she knew a beast was here to kill her. But I wasn't a mindless beast. I pulled the shard that was in her neuroport. I'm not going to rescue you, but that should be what was blocking your agent. Call some of your chums. If they care about you, maybe you'll survive. I bit out, crunching the shard in my hand. Fucking scav shit made to shut down someone from being able to call for help. Then I started walking away. I couldn't deal with this shit. Wait. Where are we? I don't know where to tell them to go. She begged weakly, desperate. My feet stomped into bloody flooring, halting me cold. Mega Building H11, floor 37. Tell them to get to the northwest side. Should be obvious where to go. I ground behind clenched teeth, as I started taking another step away. I wanted to get out of here. Then she was coughing, I could hear the blood in her synth lungs. I had killed enough people to know what someone dying sounded like. Fuck. Fuck. I turned around and grabbed a medkit off a pile of bodies. Fucking scavs. They obviously took care of each other in here when needed. They had a full medical kit all stocked up. I thrust a Maxstock into her hand, which would help a little, but grabbed a canister of Borg blood. I jammed it into her, not caring to be gentle. She whimpered, but it obviously helped. Blood pressure surging back as her breathing evened out, even giving her the strength to take the Maxstock. There, that's all the mercy I have for someone in Maelstrom. I told her firmly. Slamming the medkit back onto the table beside her and storming off. As I turned the corner, I came across the dead scavs, and remembered what I had been doing here. I turned off the BD recorder, and grabbed a Maxstock of my own. I also needed to find a damn bathroom. June would freak if I came out this covered in my own blood like this. My irritation spiked when I realized I would have to go hunt down my knife. I had dropped my carnage somewhere as well. Plus Itchy and Malcolm would be on their way soon, and so would a group of Maelstrom. Fuck. Fuck. I found a bathroom, but stopped before cleaning up. The sight of myself covered in blood gave me an idea. Instead, I called June. Motoko. You okay? It went quiet. June change of plans. I need you to stay up there. Scavs had a victim in here. They are fucked. They are calling for someone to get them out of here, but I don't want you to get involved. I said, ignoring his worried tone. Motoko? What's going on? I can come down to help if someone is dying. I know some first aid stuff. June's voice asked, obviously concerned. Maelstrom. The victim is a Maelstrom girl. Considering how much I want to kill her, and her fucking friends, I doubted June was much more reasonable. Did you kill it? June asked. Suddenly his voice sounded a little dead. No, I didn't kill her. I just said. She was already in pieces. I told him, and don't think I didn't notice how you called her in it, June. That's rather telling, Oniai-chan. It's ruined my mood though. June, just let me handle this. Some of her chums are going to come pick her up. That will be that. No. If more Maelstrom are coming, I should come down. Make sure they don't ever leave. We can June, if the Maelstrom find out you are here alone, they are going to send a hit squad to take you out. Just stay hidden up there. I'll patch you into the cameras so you can keep watch, but I just want these fucks gone so Malcolm and Ichi can loot. Please just stay cool. I know this isn't comforting. But I have an idea. It's not like I plan on being gentle with the fucks. It's your gig, he said suddenly, just as flat as before. Then the call ended. Fuck. I had called Ichi to let him know the situation, so he wouldn't park too close until I let him know it was clear. Then I waited. Forced to listen to the Maelstrom woman slowly die, even with the blood injection and max doc. My foot was tapping in irritation when finally the elevator started up and 3 Maelstrom came stepping out carefully onto the floor with guns in hand. Of course I let them approach. Let them find the broken open entrance door. I stalked them. My silent steps more than capable of bypassing their chrome audio equipment. The fact I had access to all the cameras meant I could stay around the corner, always completely hidden from their stupid optics, which were difficult to get around. Fucking hell, this really is a scav den. I guess Gearslot was right. Think she was actually klept, or she just leading us into a trap? One of them asked suddenly. Fuck off, she was legit, now find her. The other growled out, and the first made a motion that I knew he was rolling his non-existent eyes. Just 'cause you fuck her sometimes. No. Because she is one of us, and we don't let Maelstrom get fucked by scavs. He grumbled as they stepped into the first rooms. Fuck, look at that scop. The first Maelstrom whistled as they came across the first body I had left, head bashed in across the table. Guess Gearslot was right. Some solo came through here, wiped them out. Come on. While I followed them along. I was recording. The moment the elevator rose to the top, I had started recording again. The only thing they fear is you two electric boogaloo. I waited for them to find their chum. Unfortunately for the Maelstrom, each had already had their security breached through as I tracked them. I was now in control. Fuck Gearslot, you look like some truly rusty shit. The guy that sounded actually worried about her muttered when they found her. Fuck you. She wheezed, but she sounded relieved. Now get me. Get me out of here. She begged, and the big guy nodded, already reaching down to pick her up. Hell no. Look around, look at all this chrome. The stupid fuck said. That's it. Can't allow them to even consider that. The stereo that the scavs were so fond of started up with a thought from where I was hiding, literally crawling among the corpse of the scav ripper doc I had murdered before. The first guitar riff echoed through the room. The fuck? Where's that song coming from? What song is that? The third asked, looking around more in interest at the notes. I think the girl, the solo, wants us to leave. Gearslot muttered quietly in the big Maelstrom arms. What? Fuck that. This is our territory. It's our chrome. Some fleshy cunt can dash. That was when I dropped the darkness on them. For stupid worthless chrome junkies, their optics were usually high-end, giving them vision way better than a normal person could have. Even if the chrome was a disgusting mess. But it was still just chrome. Still able to be shut down. Two of them instantly lost sight. What? Fuck, I can't see. Stupid, and the other gonk that wasn't holding his injured chum suddenly lost their right to see. The third, the big fuck that was carrying the girl, was allowed to retain his vision. I wanted at least one of them to see this. I moved. As the song pulsed through the radio, I slammed into stupid fuck. Carnage bashing his knee in and then whipping around to smash his face, sending him crumpling to the floor at the unseen attack. Then I slammed the barrel into his cheek, putting weight behind it so he could really feel the pressure of the barrel pressing down on him. But I wasn't looking at the gonk that was a split second from losing his head. I was staring at the big fuck with the girl in his arms. My blood-soaked body, glaring with all my might. Every ounce of barely restrained rage on display. The voice that came out wasn't my normal one. Sexy Motoko voice was in play mostly to make me sound older. Only warning. Take your chums and get lost. I pumped the shotgun just so stupid would know exactly what was pressing against his stupid face. Then I let my hack finish processing. I blinded them all, got up, leaping away, and then bouncing again, leaving the Ripper room, as I deactivated the quick hack for the entire group. Just as their sight had disappeared, it suddenly came back, as I undid the attack. I also tweaked the stereo, letting the sound dim down so it was just a faint rumble in the background. A warning if they were smart. I watched on from the camera system as I moved to a place they wouldn't find me even if they looked. Bitch. Stupid cursed as he rose up, his gun waving this way and that, but after a few seconds, he realized other than his chums, he was alone. Where did she go? Don't know. The big guy said, but as he had been holding his injured output firmly, actually trying to protect her even with his vision lost. But let's not find out. Move your shit, we're leaving. Stupid fuck looked like he was going to argue, but eventually, he just cursed and spit onto the floor, following the other two. I watched as they got into the elevator and left. I knew June had been watching too, so I was actually impressed they got away without being murdered. Time to check on my brother, get my crew to loot this place, and deal with everything. Fuck. I told you, June, I'm fine. I'll stop at Vic's to get checked out. I told him, grumbling. He had seen how much blood I had on me from the cameras, and it seemed he had taken all the feelings he had about seeing Maelstrom and not murdering them, towards smothering me. You don't look fine. He grumbled as I drove us as quickly as I could away from the mega building. This was supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be a glorious orgy of violence and brutality. Fun. I was supposed to be the doomslayer against acceptable targets. Like a game, but more real. But now all I could think about was how it ended. The bitter taste in my throat at being reminded Maelstrom existed. It totally ruined my song. I grumbled, the fact I had been so happy to finally finish an awesome song felt so far away now. What song? June asked, almost startling me and pulling me out of the spiral of just frustration I was feeling. That's right. It was actually done. Like done. I felt a tiny bit of that happiness in finishing the song and music box come back, as I popped the shard from my neck and stuck it into the quadra stereo. The song started and I could tell the noise surprised June as my heavy riffs dropped into the heavy drums. Okay, so maybe seeing June's face perk up in interest as he listened to a song I played helped my mood a bit. I stopped on the street in front of the apartment complex to let June off at home. Despite it being so late, I did want to go see Vic. Just to get a checkup. But as I parked, June surprised me by popping the shard out of the stereo before I could stop him. June. Nope. This is mine now. He told me, actually teasing me, before racing out of the quadra before I could stop him. Hey. Get back here. Give it back. I called out as I started to slip out of the quadra, but June pointed right at me. No. You are injured, go to Vic's. He demanded, and I stalled, which gave him all the time he needed to race inside. Bastard. I yelled at him, but he just laughed as he raced inside. I was going to powerbomb his ass the very next time I caught him sleeping. I decided, but it was with a much lighter feeling that I slipped back into the quadra. Thankfully Vic was able to take care of me. To my surprise, he hadn't been in his clinic when I got there. I actually had to call him up. Turns out Vic actually had a life outside of waiting around in his clinic for my gonk ass. It gave me weird vibes, like meeting a teacher outside of school. You have a fracture in your skull, and 2 of your ribs, kid. Vic unfortunately hadn't been happy at me when I explained that I was still feeling pain even after healing. I figured. Broken bones don't tend to heal up without sleeping. I explained, and he just sighed, rubbing at his head with one hand not covered in ripper needles. Alright, kid. I'm glad you came to me for me to check you out, so I won't yell at you too much. He offered with a warm hand on my shoulder as he thankfully let me off easy. I hadn't actually told him just why I was a bit more beat up than normal. Hopefully he won't find out it was something I basically did to myself. Well, I want you to rest then, here, for observation. Head wounds like that. Skull fractures are serious, kid. So rest. I'm going to make sure you don't have a brain hemorrhage in your sleep. With those orders from Vic, what else could I do? I leaned back and closed my eyes. With a clean bill of health and skull back to how it should be, I left Vic's the next morning, intending to go see Judy to drop off the new BD. Unfortunately, I was still kinda covered in blood. I had washed up a bit, but there was only so much I could do without a change of clothes and a shower, so I went home instead. Did just that, and even took a few moments to get some food in me. Then I raced over to Lizzie's. I had cut out a bit of the BD already. Mostly just everything after meeting the Maelstrom victim. I didn't want anyone to see how rattled it had made me. I had kept a copy of me messing with the second Maelstrom group, but that wasn't going to be handed over to Judy. It wasn't good enough to really bother with. Lizzie's was quieter than normal, being so early in the morning when I pulled up. Rita wasn't even the one guarding the door, but another girl that I had seen around, but hadn't spoken with. I waved at her as I passed and got a nod in return. The insides were still active, but slower than normal. People were mostly hanging around in little corners rather than packing up the place, but I moved through. Judy's realm was how it always was. Dark and hidden away, but to my surprise, Judy wasn't actually here. Huh. I shrugged. It would have been nice to talk to her, but it is what it is. I grabbed the shard with the Virtue on it and placed it onto Judy's desk, knowing she would get it. I was a few steps away before I stopped and quickly picked it back up, etching the name of the BD onto the shard with a grin before putting it back nice and obvious on her computer there. Now she would know what to call the BD for Knox. Showing my mature and reasonable mentality, I also sent Judy a text letting her know it was on her desk, including that the BD was a bit more brutal than before, so she should be ready. As tempting as it was to leave it as a surprise, that might not be an entirely nice thing to do for someone kinda doing me a favor by fixing up my Virtue. With that I headed back out of the club into the sunny California day. I blinked at the sunny bright day, raising my hand over my eyes as I glared at it. Nah, fuck that. I grumbled, heading to my car. I was going to go hide in the apartment. Maybe get some ramen first. I was on the couch with a bowl of to-go ramen in front of me as I looked through my system alerts. 18 scavs. I hadn't actually counted last night. I had brutally murdered 18 scavs. 17 500 XP alerts, and one 1000 XP alert was in the listing. 9500 XP was nice on its own. The level up to level 12 was great. But that wasn't even all that my system had given me. I had used skills I didn't often practice. I had fought in a way that I never had. Street Brawler had leveled up, and considering how early I had got those alerts, I might have gotten a good way into the next level if it wasn't already maxed out with body at 7. But better than that, I leveled Annihilation. Annihilation 5 also unlocked a perk. I had to go back and check to even remember what perk I had picked before, and it was recoil reduction. One of the reasons I was able to even use my barrier without breaking my arm. I was a little hyped at wondering what I would pick next. Quick Hack 7 also popped up in the list. I guess my rolling weapon glitch had been good for more than just giving me a brutal melee. I had gained a lot from that fight. I stretched as I considered what to do with my points. I'll admit a big part of me was tempted to put the stat point into intelligence. Just to see. What was 11 in a stat/skill? What did it mean? But I shook off the temptation. Instead, I went to my adaptation page and pushed another point into my arms. Militech Condor Adaptation, Militech Condor 5 of 8. I exhaled and I shrugged, and honestly, I couldn't even really feel the difference so much anymore. Sure, they still gave weird signals sometimes. Falling asleep on my arm only to wake up and feel like someone else was touching my face was a weird recurring issue in the morning. But it felt normal. I felt normal. Well, I felt normal enough. Ignoring the slight itch of my subdermal. The ache my ankles gave me in my calves as they forced bone and muscle to move in ways they wouldn't normally. Or the small minor things that I felt from time to time. In the end, it was just me. I smiled and nodded, looking at my skill points. Did I want to spend them? I had to. Nah, there wasn't anything that wasn't already close to max level that I couldn't level up pretty quick. Rocker Boy staring at me still at level 6 was tempting to actually grind out though. I did finally finish my music box. I grinned as I stretched, wiggling my toes as I finished off the ramen. Time to make some songs. I reached over and plugged my personal link into the box, humming as I started on a new track. I was thinking. Samurai. I nodded, decision made. Let's see how I compare to Johnny. Chapter 95. Working through the catalog of samurai songs took me most of the night. Each song needed multiple playthroughs, just for the initial tracks, and then I had to add the hollow emitter setup, which now that I had done it once with my first song, did go easier. I just needed to add a few more movesets for drums and guitar, and then set up the keyboard and bass. June didn't come home that night, which was annoying. I still needed to get my shard back from him. But at least I was able to distract myself with rocking out. Rocker Boy was gaining XP again. And in the middle of the night, as I finished Never Fade Away, I got a new level up. Rocker Boy 7. I hummed as the knowledge hit, and took it all in. That was nice addition, a bit more high-end musical stuff, and some adjustments I could do while singing to bring more emotion into the song. Of course, when I heard the door open in the morning, I was instantly on my feet and finger pointed at my idiot brother. Give it back. No, he responded as he walked stretching and yawning. I like it. It suits me. No. It's my song. It's meant to suit me. I argued and June looked at me, and just scoffed, which is when I did the mature thing and yelled in fury and leapt on his head. And I do mean on his head. I nearly fell feet and hands first into his hair. How dare he? But my jump was stalled. His arms caught me mid-leap. Had June known what I was going to do, or were his reflexes that good? He didn't have a Sandy or Karen. Right? My thoughts were interrupted as June flipped me around, and even with Street Brawler leveling I wasn't able to stop him from swinging me around a bit and bombed me onto the couch, which creaked a little ominously but held. Then he sat on me. What have we learned? He teased, and I punched him a few times near his kidneys only for it to not really do much. Stupid subdermal. Ah. I guess nothing apparently. He added as he reached down and started poking me. Which only made me want to punch him more. I swear I'm going to chip in some gorilla arms so you can't just ignore my punches. That would just make you more like a gorilla than you already are. Sure you want to do that? He teased, and I could feel my face getting red in anger as I struggled for a bit under him. Stupid June and his fat. I yelled into his face. Go on a diet. June just blinked at me before smirking. He reached into his jacket pocket. No. Oh yes. He assured me as he took out an XXL burrito and started eating it. You're so disgusting. They're good. I don't get why you don't like them anymore. They aren't burritos. They are just sludge. June just shrugged. Tasty though. I looked up at the kitchen to where the radio was. I would have my revenge. The radio started playing samurai music suddenly. June frowned and looked like he was considering standing up to turn it off, but just decided to ignore it. He turned on the TV to watch something, turning up the volume to drown out the song. Wrong move. I had complete control. The TV glitched. It started playing the song as well. Motoko. You will never know peace. I told him firmly. He sighed and tried the remote. Nope. Already hacked that. Motoko. No hacking the TV. June demanded using his authority voice. I gave him a deadpan stare. How about a truce? Get your fat ass off me. Fine. He grumbled, standing up as I could finally breathe normally again, and I clambered up to stand on the couch so we were about the same height. No, damn it, June was still taller. I put my hands on my hips and glared. Give me back my shard. Make me a copy. No. I already have the original. The reason I want the shard is so no one else can listen to it. Well, I mean they'll be able to once they watch the BD1 guess, but I mean. Ugh. Fine, keep it. I will. He said, smiling, and patted me on the head. Gotta keep Miyamoto's first recording. It's special. Blah. I flailed, pushing his hand away. No fair. Cheating, heh. You should play a live gig. He said suddenly, smiling. Fujimura-sama was really impressed with the piano solo you did. No way. I argued instantly, returning to normal to cross my arms in an X. That's embarrassing, I don't want anyone to hear my songs. Except when they were the backing to an awesome XBD. June just laughed at me, which didn't help. I've already shown your song to some of the others. The only thing they fear was a hit. They liked it. I gaped at June, who was smiling at me. No, you didn't. I did. Akari was really into it. She bugged me for a copy, I didn't give it to her though. She will probably come poke you for it. Be ready. No. I whined at him, I was blushing. Stupid Oniai-chan. Making me get all self-conscious. You aren't allowed to show it to anyone. Give it back. Nope. What else you got? Any other songs? He asked, his face in a proud smile. Samurai songs. I immediately offered, turning his smile into a disgusted look. Never mind then. Let me know when you make something else. I won't. Ever. You shared it. It was preem. Cool. I liked it, made me want to go murder something. He offered, and I nodded along. Yeah, that's true. That song did that to me too. That's what I felt. It's why the song is my theme song now. Motoko's theme. I called out, telling him why the song was important. Oni's theme sounds better. I gaped at him. Never. You can't just steal my theme. I made it myself. Well, you can't stop me. He said, reminding me he had my shard, with a tap of his hand against his neck. Which was his mistake. It was reasonable enough. June still hadn't quite fitted my net-running skill into his mind yet. My eyes blazed in code, and half a second later, his neuroport ejected the shard, sending it tumbling into the air. Heh. Lucy wasn't the only picksocket around. I leapt for the shard that had ejected, but June wasn't giving up without a fight. We ended up wrestling and tumbling around the couch for a while. In the end, his stupid fat strength meant he kept the shard, and I sulked at him in the corner as he very obviously played the song in his head. I can't believe you hit another scav den without me. Hiromi whined the exact second after almost kicking in the door and glaring at me from the entryway. Hiromi, don't kick doors that can break them. I reminded her, only to get a groan from her, as I guess I ruined her outrage. Why? I could have come. I wasn't going to call anyone. It was a BD gig more than anything, but June wouldn't let me go alone. So I ended up calling Ichi and Malcolm after to collect everything. But not me? It was a school night. I reminded her, earning a look of disgust from her. Stop using that as an excuse. She whined before flopping beside me on the couch, reaching out to grab me so I couldn't escape. I demand restitution. 1,000,000 Motoko hours of service will just about cover this insult. She added in her most corpo voice. It had me giggling at her act, but I pulled myself together to give her my most deadpan reply. Sorry, no can do, but I'll pick up dinner. I retorted, and Hiromi giggled and seemed to relax. I'll take it. Hiromi dragged me to a more expensive sort of restaurant than I would normally go to, but considering how many eddies I had sliding into my bank account, I just shrugged and accepted what she wanted, and ate the overpriced food. It was making her happy. We were in a dark little booth with an electric candle lighting our table, and Hiromi was all smiles while she told me about her day at the academy. Seriously. They are so gonk. They think people will just listen to whatever they say without any care. I'm pretty sure the first time they try to hire a merc, they are going to get shot. Hiromi added with a roll of her eyes, and I couldn't help but be amused at how well she had scored on her workplace reinforcement quiz. I think you just have way more experience than most of them in dealing with solos. Not that I really count. I don't think using me as an example is a good idea. Hiromi opened her mouth to retort but ended up closing it and bursting into giggles. Probably not. Oh. Now I have this image in my head. Motoko. You have to record the first time some corp tries to hire you, okay? I want to see the look on their face when they realize what they are dealing with. That. Okay, that does sound funny, but the way you say that makes it sound like I'm weird. I argued, pushing a piece of. Well, it was supposed to be shrimp, but it was just scop made to look and sort of taste like shrimp. Hiromi of course just smirked at me, until I looked away first. Meanie. I suddenly perked up as a text came in, the chime jolting in my ear. Asterisk Judy, Jesus. Fuck. What the fuck was that, asterisk? Before I could even message back, another came in. Asterisk Judy, I'm glad you warned me, but still. Are you okay? Did you go cyber psycho on me or something? Don't make me call Rita, asterisk. All 1 second. Judy just saw my BD. I told Hiromi, who was looking curiously as my eyes were obviously gold as I looked through my texts. Before I could actually respond, Judy sent another message. Asterisk Judy, fuck it. I'm calling Rita anyways, asterisk. Asterisk Motoko, please don't. I'm fine. Not a psycho, asterisk. Asterisk Motoko, cyber or otherwise. It was just for the BD. I do have a thing about scavs after all. I'm actually at dinner with my chum right now. Eating and doing normal stuff. Nothing psycho going on, I'm okay. Don't tell Rita I'm a cyber psycho, asterisk. Asterisk Judy, fine. Fine. I'll chill. But seriously. You gave me a warning, but a bit more detail would have been nice. Fuck, my heart is pounding. A bit more brutal, my ass. You. I will never forget the feeling of sticking my thumbs in someone's eyeballs, now, thanks to you, asterisk. Motoko, sorry. Asterisk Judy, fuck, you better be. You sure you aren't a fucking cyber psycho? No. You wouldn't be this normal, I guess? I don't know, I've never dealt with a cyber psycho before. Fine. Okay. Fine. As long as you aren't a psycho, I guess it's all good. Sides, I guess it's all good. Knox will be happy to hear about a maneuver too. Well, as long as it isn't going to be evidence for Max Tack. Well, yet anyways. I'm gonna finish the BD, make it fucking sparkly preem. Just don't drop something like this on me again. Fuck, I do porn, I didn't sign up to learn what brain feels like, asterisk. Asterisk Motoko, double super sorry. Anything I can do to make up for it, asterisk. Asterisk Judy, some replacement caffeine to start. I had to chug half my stash just to calm down after that overload, asterisk. Asterisk Motoko, Judy, I don't think caffeine is what you want if you are, you know what. Never mind. Sure, I'll replace your stuff. Sorry, asterisk. Asterisk Judy, it's fine I guess. I'm just glad you read normal. But I'm expecting you to check in with Rita or something. Or just don't do something like that again. Anyway, I'll have it done ASAP. I kinda want to see some reactions to this one, asterisk. I shook my head at Judy's reaction, taking a deep breath. At least Judy was okay with it. I mean, just because it was me at my most brutal, overlaid with heavy metal that no one had ever heard before, that literally ended with rip and tear. Surely no one could misconstrue that in the wrong light, right? I may have got a bit overboard on my last BD. I admitted to Hiromi, who only looked interested rather than concerned. Yep. This may have been a mistake. A fun mistake. But still a mistake. Apparently we were having a slumber party. Hiromi had followed me home after dinner. She flopped onto the couch as we entered besides Jun Hyojun. Hiromi. Taking care of my gonk sister tonight? Yep. Motoko is all fed. I bought dinner. I grumbled at Hiromi going along with Jun's teasing as I settled onto the armrest of the couch. Jun and Hiromi taking up the rest. Motoko. Play your song for me. Hiromi demanded, leaning back like a queen surveying her domain. No, my instant flat denial broke her facade, and the whining began. Motoko. I want to hear you play your new song. Judy got to hear it. She begged, leaning into me and being purposefully annoying. Judy is listening to a recording of it in a BD. It's not the same. I argued. I had explained after Judy's text what I had done at the scav den. And Hiromi, to my surprise, hadn't said anything about wanting to hear my song then. I guess she just wanted a private showing. I want to hear you play it too. Jun said, a smirk shot in my direction. Earning a happy smile from Hiromi as she met his eyes, and both of them looked at me. Don't even think about it. Motoko. Come on, Amuto. They started cheering for me. Like actual cheers. They were even getting louder, and I realized then if I didn't do something, they were going to keep getting louder until I did. Fucking gonks. I felt my face heating up but pushed it down with cool, which was a mistake. Because if I was controlling my emotions, I wasn't too embarrassed to actually play in front of people. I did have to test my music box after all. I glared at them both before walking around grabbing my music box and pushing my personal link into it. I placed it onto the floor behind me as I grabbed my guitar. With a bit of finagling, I hooked the amp and speakers I had bought up to the music box. While ignoring the cheers of my chum and stupid brother. You both better appreciate this. I told them as I did a few tests to make sure the sound was coming out, and then walked around the apartment turning off most of the lights. Then I activated the song. The moment I started the first chords, behind me holograms began forming. On my right a drum set formed, and then I could hear Jun and Hiromi both gasp in surprise as a holographic me formed with it. The hologram unfortunately didn't do anything fancy like twirl a drumstick or something. I would actually need to get pictures of me doing that and spend a lot more time improving the routine, but it did have me behind the drums and hitting all the notes on a drum. To my left a double keyboard setup and a bunch of extra electrical equipment popped up to represent me working on the more electronic sounds. And then, suddenly the drop hit, and drummer me went to town. Thankfully there wasn't any vocals through the song, so I could concentrate fully on just making sure the notes I was playing were right. The recorded version of the other instruments sounded fine, and I was actually doing it. I wasn't fumbling, my notes were hitting, and I even roared along with the chant at the end. Then it ended. Eee. Hiromi slammed into me once the song was obviously ended, literally leaping on top of me that I had to balance my best chum with not breaking my guitar as she clung onto me. That was so preem. She screamed and burst into laughter after. I was just desperately trying not to fall and break something. Jun thankfully came to my rescue, but not by lifting Hiromi off me. Instead he grabbed my guitar and pulled it free. Thanks. Jerk. I mouthed at him, and he just laughed at me. Hiromi. Come on. No way. I know an actual rocker boy now. She yelled so excited. You have to give me a super pass to all your shows forever. She demanded, and I just laughed and nodded. Because I was never going to do any shows. Silly Hiromi. Besides, even if I did do shows, she would have a super pass anyways. What a gonk. That was so amazing, Motoko. I can't believe you wrote your own song. Hiromi said, still holding on to me like a monkey. I winced, trying to explain that I hadn't written the song originally was difficult. I made an apology to the amazing Mick Gordon that I was taking credit for his work. Okay, time to climb off. I grumbled at her as I pushed her until she had to let go. But Hiromi's good cheer couldn't be ended so easily. Motoko, we need to set up a show. We can sell tickets. Hiromi was going a little crazy. No way. I'm not putting on any shows, Hiromi. This is just my thing. My relaxing thing. I tell her before realizing what I had just said. Right. This was my relaxing thing. Or supposed to be. Turning it into another murder thing. Fuck. Rita was gonna be so disappointed when she found out. This was supposed to be my zen thing. My hobby to pull me out of the routine murder I committed. With that realization, I exhaled in annoyance at myself. I reached out, grabbing Hiromi by the shoulders, and guided her back to the couch. I'm glad you liked my song. Now never ever tell anyone about this. Especially you, June. You traitor. Akari is going to be so annoying now. Heh. No. Motoko, you are so talented. You have to. Hiromi whined at me, but I ignored her. No way. That was embarrassing. In the end, I ignored Hiromi's begging, and eventually June just laughed at the two of us as he turned the TV on. Although he did give me a head pat for doing so well. I ended up sitting on the floor with my back against the couch, Hiromi looming over me as she watched me work, as I worked on another song. It was the only thing I could do to get her to stop bugging me about singing more. Of course, I had to take my laptop and hook it into the network to let Hiromi see the visual of me putting the song's tracks together. There were so many different songs I wanted to play, but since I had already started on the Doom soundtrack, I might as well continue with another of the songs I liked. BFG Division was hilariously relevant in Night City after all. June ended up waking Hiromi up in the morning. He had gone to bed eventually, and Hiromi had just curled up on the couch with her head halfway resting on my shoulder as I worked. During the quiet night, I had added most of a few other songs together, although I still wanted to actually perform the guitar sections myself to finish them off. Something I couldn't do with Hiromi asleep. I had gained a few Rockerboy alerts as well as I worked on the songs. I guess creating digital music still counted as far as Rockerboy was concerned. Morning, Motoko. Morning, June. Hiromi muttered groggily as was woken up by June opening and closing the fridge, the noise all it took to bring her back to wakefulness. Morning, Hiromi. I chirp as my chum blinks and gives me a smile in return as she starts stretching out and waking up. I put my stuff away. Considering I had been working through the night, I wanted a break from tracks and notes for a while. Breakfast? I asked my chum and she blinked sleepily and nodded. Ah. Sleepy Hiromi was all quiet. Chapter 96. Nox. It's nothing like you'll find anywhere else. It's not some shock jock gore shit. This is an edge runner, doing a real gig. A professional. He commented, practically slapping his bag as he talked the guy into it. Yeah, kid, I know. I heard about the boat heist. The man offered, rolling his eyes as he looked around. He wasn't the first customer Knox had that hadn't been super comfortable buying peddled BDs, X or otherwise, off the street from a street kid. But Knox had prime shit now. Motoko's BDs were unique enough that word of mouth got around. It wasn't every day someone could feel an actual professional at work. Knox was super thankful that Motoko had wanted to hide her body and shit from the BD. It let him sell to people that wouldn't buy a BD from a teenager's perspective normally. Well, I got one here for you. As well as the backlog of that edge runner's other works. Some are pretty low-key, but I assure you, once you finish you will know what it's like to be a dash. An edge runner. I've heard your push already, kid. Just show me what you got. The older man demanded, and as Knox held out a copy of all the BDs, he thought he could push on the older guy. Eddies and shards traded hands, and the man disappeared. Leaving Knox with an easy couple grand. He loved this shit. The boat heist had been on the news, so he could easily push for high-end XBD prices for it. And that led to people wanting more of Motoko. Money was flowing in, more money than he had ever expected. As always, he made a note in a program he kept on his agent of how much he made, and how much he would owe Motoko for her cut. It was small time honestly. Motoko barely even noticed when he sent her updates on how well everything was going. Judy, his only other person he had to pay, mostly just wanted him to bring her more caffeine. The eddies were just flowing in, and Knox was even considering hiring a guard just to make sure no more trouble happened. Ringing. Judy? He thought, hearing the call and checking the caller ID. Hey Jude, what's up? Fuck, he winced at the loud noise. He had an internal agent now. A very useful piece of chrome he had purchased with some of the profits, but it meant he couldn't lean away from the phone. Asterisk the fucking fuck, Knox. Fuck, asterisk. Jude? Asterisk ugh. I can't believe I did this shit. Knox, you are so lucky you're a Mox. If you weren't, I would be kicking your ass right now. Motoko's last BD was fucking. Fuck. My heart literally won't stop fucking pounding, and I can't get the feeling of literally. Fuck. At least she warned me first. But I need bigger warnings than this, asterisk. Asterisk hey Jude. Calm down, what's going on, asterisk. Asterisk ugh. Motoko dropped a new BD on my desk, asterisk, and at that Knox was cheering, literally jumping in the air and whooping audibly as he rushed to pack his shit. New content. Fuck, he was gonna make more eddies. Running into that beautiful girl was the best thing that ever happened to him in his entire life. Asterisk, I'm on my way. Did you finish it, asterisk? Asterisk, yeah, I fucking finished it, Knox. Well, sorry, asterisk. Judy went quiet for a minute. Asterisk, I'm still dealing with the aftershocks of the Virtu, I still feel angry. Just come by, and bring me a few cans. I'm out, thanks to editing this bitch, asterisk. Asterisk, on my way, Jude. On my way, asterisk. She hung up and Knox was whooping as he ran down the street. He was going to jump in his crappy car that he had bought with the eddies and run it all the way to Lizzie's. Everything was going perfect today. Rip and tear. Until it's done. His mouth formed the words even as he was gasping for air. His head still hurt, and his ribs ached, but everything else just felt like fire and hate as he glared down at the last scav. At the last monster he had ripped apart. The transition was sudden, like the BD cut off in a weird spot, and suddenly Knox was Knox. He wasn't a murder machine glaring down at the corpses of the fucking scavs. No, he was laying on his back, with Judy looking over him. Phew-wuck. He whimpered, despite the pain being gone. The rage and anger and hatred, but it left his nerves feeling raw as he rolled off the chair and nearly face-planted. He was gasping for air, he realized, and he wondered for a moment if he was going to be sick. Yeah. I may need to tone that down a bit. Judy offered. He had shown up and she had been twitchy and quick to anger, and now he knew why. He felt the same way, but there was also. He rolled over and just laid on his back, sucking in air and letting the cool floor of Judy's workshop cool him down. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. Judy replied and even handed him a soda as she stood over him. You alright? Just processing. I wasn't. Is Motoko okay? I called her. I could only stay in the Virtu for like a minute before I pulled out at first. I called her then. She sounded normal. Apologized and stuff. Still not sure if she is actually. Yeah. Fuck. Knox had felt the cool, calculated control Motoko exuded, probably more than anybody. He sold the damn BDs after all. He watched them often enough to make sure he could explain them to buyers. He knew that Motoko was a killer. Absolutely unhesitatingly murderous when she wanted. The facade of her chipper happiness disappeared when it was time for her to kill. But now he wasn't sure what the real Motoko was. Was it the nice teenager that would help out a boy getting beaten? The cold calculating solo? Or the monster of rage and hate hidden within? So yeah. That's a thing. Judy offered as she took a long sip of her drink. I'm thinking of sicking Rita on her. Yeah. I'll never get the feeling of brains out of my nails. She told him, and Knox had to agree. He had seen a lot of XBDs. That was definitely the first time someone had stuck a thumb through someone's eye. It was fucking preem though. It was the most uncomfortable virtue I have ever edited. She retorted instantly. Preem work. Judy just laughed as he ignored her complaints. She wasn't really mad. Judy might pretend all she wanted, but she loved BDs and XBDs as much as anyone. Hell, he still slipped her some of the shit coming out from the big names so she could rip it apart and see what they had done. Improve her own craft. She's a connoisseur. And he had caught her a few times just enjoying a BD here or there. Fuck. I'm gonna sell that BD. He muttered, realizing what he had on his hands. Not until after I tone it down a bit. Don't. Leave it. He decided. He would explain that it was more raw than normal. It was better this way. No one would forget the BD. The only thing they fear is you. Knox had come up with the names of all the BDs Motoko had dropped off until now. But fuck, if she had come up with the best name possible for this BD, anyone who scrolled this BD was going to feel like it was the damn truth. My agent ringing in my head woke me up in the middle of my nap. Blarg? I asked aloud as I blinked my eyes and sat up. I had spent the entire previous day playing with Hiromi, traveling the city shopping for clothes, and just hanging out with my chum. Then I spent some of the night doing some debugging work that Yoko had set up for me. Getting through some of the backlog of service requests that were piling up in my inbox. But now it was early late. And I was actually muggy. Not something I usually deal with. Realizing I hadn't actually spoken into my agent, I shook myself and did it again. Hello? Hermanita, it's Jackie. Sorry about calling you so late, little chum, but I have a problem, and I need a netrunner. I already tried Bug, but she cussed me out. Can you help? Jackie blurted out, and instantly I could tell he was stressed. Talking too fast, and almost stumbling over his words. I blinked as I tried to process the question before grunting a bit as I rose up. Yeah, Jack, I can help. What's the deets? I got a computer system here that has information I need, but I can't get in. I'll send you the address? Sure, I'll be on my way. Thanks, Hermanita. I rose to hurry and get dressed. Noting that June was sleeping in his bed, so I went stealthy so I wouldn't disturb him. Slipping out of the apartment, I rushed down the stairs using the movement to get my blood pumping to help wake me up. I hated being groggy, but I wasn't going to blame Jackie. He had called me. I raced across the street to the parking garage. Jackie actually relied on me. I was inordinately happy about the fact. I checked the address and set it to my GPS and started driving, actually going a little faster than normal through the city. The address took me to an old warehouse in Santo Domingo. I pulled up to the open gate and frowned. Multiple vehicles were inside, and I could see dead bodies lying on the ground. Not just that. Some of the bodies were wearing armor. Orange armor. Kong Tao? What were Kong Tao gonks doing here? What was Jackie getting himself into? I parked and turned off the engine. Time to move. The chain link fence protected a dirty lot, covered in old garbage, including a fire pit and some old ratty chairs. Obviously the abandoned lot had been taken over. Now the question was, what was going on? I slipped through the gate, staying in cover from the sightlines of the entrance to the warehouse that had its bay door open as I came up on the first normal body. Tino? I checked the markings, and it was the same sort of tats and markings a Tino might use, but it wasn't quite right. The body was wearing a bandana around the neck with a weird symbol on it. Offshoot street gang? Maybe just a few Tino kids forming their own gang to fuck around? But why the murder? Kong Tao being involved was a bit much for what I would expect from a street gang. I looked over the wounds and frowned. Big rounds. 5-round center mass. Someone took this kid out brutally. Kong Tao hadn't been interested in talking. Barrier now firmly in my hand, because this was sketchy, I rushed up to the warehouse's entrance, peeking in. It was empty except for a Kong Tao van parked in the back. But there was a light on in the back office. I glanced around, then did it again, to confirm the lack of any cameras. The darkness of the warehouse, no barrier to my optics, I rushed in, using the weight-bearing struts to stay in cover as I raced to the back. The van was empty front and back, the back door was even open. Slowly I crept up to the office window to peek in, and relaxed, almost sighing in relief. I quickly called Jackie after confirming he was just sitting in a chair waiting. "Hermanita, you here?" he asked as soon as the call connected as I watched him physically rise up from his chair. Yeah, just outside the office you were parked in. I'm coming in. Didn't want to startle you, I added, gave him a second before I opened the door and walked in. Phew, you're sneaky as always, Jackie said, chuckling as he sat back down. Fuck Jackie. You're hurt, I snapped, rushing in as I noticed the blood rolling down his shoulder. Just a flesh wound, Hermanita. I'll be fine, he said, trying to calm me, but the way his left arm was hitching meant that was a lie. I almost went off on him when I noticed it. The dead Kong Tao body in the corner. Jackie? What's going on? One of the fuckers that killed the kids outside. They were just gonk kids. Didn't deserve this shit, Jackie hissed, the big man usually easygoing honestly furious as he walked over and kicked the body. He was already very dead, Jackie. What were Kong Tao doing here? The kids. The red piratas, red pirates. Just a small group of kids fucking around, klepping shit they shouldn't have. Danny. He lives near me, I boxed with him a little, just taught him how to punch. Kid doesn't have a papa. Jackie was quiet for a moment before shaking his head. He gone? Yeah. I saw him outside. He's the one who called me for help. The piratas clept a vehicle only to find out its owner was Kong Tao. It was a corpo's car, there was something in the trunk. Danny realized how hot it was, but couldn't just dump it. They had taken the car on a joyride. Everyone knew who had clept the ride. Jackie sighed, rubbing his face tiredly. So Kong Tao came to get it back. Without mercy, I added, and Jackie nodded. I need to find out where they are, Hermanita. Can't let this one stand. Not even the Corps can just walk into Tino territory and flatline our boys. Even Padre agrees. This is too far. So I called in some backup, but I'm stuck at step 1, he said, pointing with his good arm, and I figured it out. There was a Kong Tao armored case that had a laptop inside sitting on the office desk. Blood along one side of it told me how Jackie had gotten it. It was on, but obviously needed a password as it was stuck on the login page. Okay, I'm putting things together, I said as I walked over to the laptop. Knew you were the right call. Fast on your feet, he complimented me. I just snorted in amusement as I checked the laptop. I wasn't even his first pick. Don't think I had missed that he called T-Bug first. Then I frowned. Dangerous. This is gonna take a bit. The security on this thing is dangerous. Okay, Hermanita. Just as fast as you can. I need to find out where they ran. Can't send Danny on without the men who killed him following behind. Jackie grunted in anger as he glared around the small office. In the quiet of the office as Jackie brooded, I was working my way into the laptop. No way I was sticking my personal link into a port on this thing. Just looking at it, I could see the massive module on its side. Basically, it was a black ICE port. You stick your link in without the right codes, it tries to fry your brain. Probably melts the laptop hard drive along with it. So instead, I was relying on Ghost Touch. A few key presses caused the OS to enter a diagnostic mode. Then I basically started poking the system using wireless connections. Sending connection requests that would be denied, but the laptop would still need to accept a few bytes of code to verify if it was an allowed connection. Over and over, I sent tiny bits of data through that would all be stored in the same processing node to verify if it was a legit connection. The laptop normally would have dumped the data after dismissing the connection, but if I sent the data over a slow enough bandwidth causing the computer to assume it was a connection error, so it would save the data as it constantly tried to gather enough information to accept or deny, the data would be saved. And slowly a virus was put together that would add and access information. Hermanita? Gonna take a bit, Jackie. Don't rush me. I'm going as fast as I can. I mumbled, never tearing my eyes from the laptop as my vision was filled with data. I was literally writing a virus in real time as I sent bytes of it into a new system. A virus that would then need to put itself together after. I heard it then, as I was going, an engine rumbling into the lot. An overtuned absolute monster of an engine. Also, I recognized that noise. A Kusanagi? Jackie? If I need to move away from this, I'll lose progress. No worries, Hermanita, I said. I called in some backup, yeah? The fucking cavalry is here. Jackie said with a laugh as he stepped out of the office behind me, but I was focusing on getting into this system. Stupid Contao security. A new voice called out behind me. Who's the kid? A woman's voice behind me asked, and Jackie responded a moment later. Motoko. Good kid, she's a net runner. And a solo. She's hacking into the Contao system to find out where they ran off to. Fuck Jackie. You got some street kid to try and break into Corp SEC? You might as well just put a bullet in her head now. Or not, I guess. The fucking kid isn't even plugged. How is she supposed to breach? I ignored the woman, even if I really wanted to turn around and give her a piece of my mind, but there was only one way to really shut someone up. Do something they already dismissed you from being capable of. The virus was coming together. I was sending the data that was basically restructuring the data in the laptop's node that would activate once it was complete. Hey, easy Hermana. Motoko isn't some scop kid. I'd done gigs with her. I told you I started working with a solo for Wakako's gigs, yeah? Well, that's her. 14? Fuck me. Seriously, a little TC brat? She suddenly said, and I realized she must have scanned me. Pulling up my data. Like you have much room to talk there, Hermana. Jackie suddenly teased, and since there was an almost echoing silence, I could tell Jackie was getting glared at. Jack, you know I got your back if you need it, and hell, going after Contao for that piece of tech you said the kids found is something I'm all for. But it looks like they've already cleared off. I'll help cause some trouble for you, but I can't storm a Contao office. I know, chum, just give Motoko a bit, she'll find out where those fuckers went and we will track them right down. The woman's scoff only told me what she really thought of that. I'm in. I said suddenly as I stood up and stretched. Fuck, that took forever. What? I turned around to face Jackie and his chum only to blink. I knew that face. I fucking knew that face. I went cold to keep myself from wanting to immediately spaz out. V. That was female V standing in front of me in a corpo suit, was definitely female V. The red hair, the shaved left side. Even the EMP threading was the same, going from her cheeks up over her eyes. You're still on the login screen. How is that in? She demanded, instantly harsh and criticizing. Well, she was a total bitch. Was it weird that I always loved that about her while playing the game? I smiled. Username, you suck, all caps. Password, uppercase D. I took a step away and waved at the laptop, earning a surprised look before she walked over and typed away. The Contao login screen gave way to the actual desktop. Fuck me. V whispered as she quickly hit an icon on the desktop and a bunch of future Excel sheets popped up. Oh, I'm taking this, pulled a shard out of her socket and went to plug it in. Hold up. I demanded, stopping her from putting it in. What? She demanded, a glare and a twitch of her hands that told me she had stopped herself from striking out at me. Hair trigger much? You put that in, and they will notice. Right now, the access isn't being deleted because it's not doing anything. Find out where the stuff we need is first. To my surprise, the woman continued to glare at me, as if she was deciding whether to listen or not. Come on, V. Padre gave me a gig to hunt these pendejos down. Gig first, yeah? Jackie backed me up, and smiling at the woman in that way of his. Fine. She grunted and instead started typing away as she pulled up a program that, after a few moments of watching her navigate, made me realize it was dispatch information. Who went where? It was limited to this group though. Which was actually good security. I got them. They are at a drop site that Contao like to use. Whatever it is they found, Contao want to get it out of the city. We aren't too late, but we have to move. She looked over her shoulder to Jackie, her red hair hanging over just one side of her head blocking her face from my sight before Jackie nodded, throwing her a thumbs up, earning a scoff, but only then did she plug the shard she had into the laptop. It began trying to download anything and everything it could. Alright, while this downloads Jackie, go grab the Con Tau van, we can use it to get close without them realizing their chums are zeroed. Dee demanded, even snapping a finger at Jackie to get him to move. Hermana, I'll get our ride. And find a medkit before you bleed out, you dumb fuck, gonk. She yelled suddenly, and I could hear Jackie chuckling a little. They were so cute. If I didn't already know they weren't into each other like that, I would absolutely ship them. Alright kid, time to clear off. Dee said, suddenly reminding me she was also a turbo bitch. What, you don't want a netrunner backup? Don't know you. Don't need you. She said instantly. Clear off. I thought about it. Considered arguing, but in the end I turned and walked out with a smirk on my face. I don't remember agreeing to work for her either. Jackie was my chum, so it wasn't like I was just going to let him head into this kind of shit without some backup. Walking through the warehouse and then out into the dirt lot, a splash of color caught my eye. Yeah. That could work. Chapter 97. V. Dee sighed, grimacing at the feeling of her insides swirling and shifting. Fucking Biomon was doing its best to keep her stressed down, but Jackie just had to call at the worst fucking time. Jenkins was going to kill her when he found out she wasn't following up on the new Militech prototype Sandy, and instead was out trying to help out a non-affiliate. She exhaled, giving herself a moment to just breathe as the hacking shard downloaded everything it could from the Con Tau system. Maybe this data would balance things out? It wasn't like even someone in counter intel got access to a unit database like this. Fuck, that had impressed her. A 14-year-old kid broke through Con Tau security without even jacking in? What the hell had she even done? Probably some netrunner wizard shit. Dee shook her head, she never could wrap her head around high-level net running. Sure, she knew how to ping a system and do some data breaches, but any good ICE would keep her right out. The shard pinged as the laptop suddenly froze and shut down. Looks like they finally noticed. She grabbed the shard out of the laptop and tucked it away, patting it for a bit of comfort. Please be enough for Jenkins. Alright Jackie, I'm good, you took care of that boo-boo? She demanded as she walked out of the little warehouse backroom, noticing that the kid was gone. Good. She hadn't liked that smirk the kid had sent her. Brats like that always wanted to poke their nose into shit. Dee slipped into the Con Tau van. Jackie was already idling for them. I'm bandaged up, come on V, don't baby me. Where's Motoko? Don't know, told her to split. V. Motoko's a good shooter. Hell girl is sneaky as shit. We could have used her. I don't bring along people I don't know, Jack. Besides, she's just a kid. I don't want some street brat getting in the way. Jackie sent her a look telling her he was about to argue, but she sent him a glare instead and he backed down. Instead, the van started moving, heading towards their destination. Good. She was already on borrowed time and didn't have the desire to deal with any more bullshit from Jackie right now. No. She shouldn't think like that. Jackie was a chum, maybe the only one she had. And he had saved her fucking life. He had proven to be trustworthy, the only person in her life that was. She shouldn't think like that at him. Her life in counter intel was making her twitchy about everyone. She let her implants calm her down even more. She needed a clear head and she relaxed a bit as the rush of chemicals hit her blood. Quantified Satori was going to harp at her for overuse again. Damn it. She put her life coach out of her mind. She had Con Tau to annihilate. The idea almost got her excited. She had been behind a desk for too long. Jackie, you got anything bigger than that pea shooter you run with? I don't need anything but my baby, you know that, V. He practically squawked at her in outrage. Jackie, for fuck's sake. Get a bigger iron. At least a Yukimura if you have to have a damn handgun. She snapped at him, her biomon beeping at her about her blood pressure. Fucking piece of shit, the Biomon's job was to control her blood pressure, not hers. By the top of the line Arasaka stuff, huh? Can't take the corp out of the woman, eh? Jackie teased, and V just huffed cause he was sort of right, but then the thought hit her. She shouldn't have snapped at him. He didn't deserve that. Even if she had yelled at him so many times about how his low firepower was going to get him killed, he should get a fucking overture or something. Brawly fuck. She took a breath and let it out. She had to say something. She had been quiet for too long. He might think she was actually angry at him. Or he might be angry himself. He wasn't saying shit. Fuck. Come on V, you stupid bitch. Say something to break the tension. Oh, but I don't like revolvers, chica, I always run out of ammo. She mocks in his voice, literally as she used her chrome to emulate him for a second. Jackie looked to her for a second and then started laughing. Long and loud, Jackie broke into near giggles at her. She felt herself relax. She hadn't pushed too hard. Hadn't pissed him off for the last time leaving her alone. It was okay. She hadn't messed up the one good relationship she still had. We're here, chica. You ready? He called suddenly, and she realized they were. Always. She rolled her eyes, pulling out her shingen and linking in. Immediately, the reticle followed her eye. Smart system ready. But she also pulled her sidearm. The Kenshin with the big silencer, just like she enjoyed. Just roll up on the entrance. I'll get us access. She said, knowing Jackie would know what she meant. They had pulled this maneuver back on the border. Hell, it was how they had gotten out of that mess. You still using that overdesigned piece of scop? Should get a real pistol. New or good? Jackie teased, and V seriously considered beating him over the head with her extremely expensive Arasaka handgun. It's still the best handgun on the market. She hissed quietly at him as they were getting close. Maybe if you want an ugly piece of shit. He argued, practically giggling. Fucker was riling her, but it felt good. You didn't have these sorts of conversations with people during an Arasaka op. She was either in charge so they shut their fucking mouth and did what she said, or she was being ordered around by Jenkins or someone even higher up, so V kept her mouth shut. Fuck, she missed doing work with Jackie. She sometimes worked with other mercs, but they were either intimidated by her. The black-suited Arasaka enforcer. Like they should be. Or they were assholes treating her like corpo scum. Jackie might rag on Arasaka, but when he laughed, he was laughing with you. She closed her eyes and opened them. Dropping her emotions a bit more. It had been a long time since she felt this happy. As the van pulled up to the checkpoint of the old Kontao warehouse, which in reality was just one of their drop-off points. One of the few places Arasaka weren't bullying them like the helpless bitches they were, out of. Kontao were so far down the totem pole, they had to operate out of a fucking abandoned warehouse for their more Black Op pickups. It was time. The van stopped at the guard entrance, and V was ready. Crawling across Jackie's stupid lap. Pistol right up against the glass. Jackie waited for her nod, and rolled the window down. Letting her send 4 silenced rounds with unerring aim into the Kontao guard's face. After a few seconds, she matched Jackie's growing smile as no alert came out. The Kontao van's tinted scam-proof windows protecting them from the security, even noticing the shots as V shot still within the cab. Give me a second to turn the damn turrets and cameras off. She said as she peeked out of her side window at a security camera through a tiny gap, her eyes scanning, and she activated the security system demon she had. She had no idea how it worked. She had no idea what it did exactly. But it turned off cameras and turrets on a network without her having to do anything herself, which was by definition the best quick hack she could ever have. One that didn't need her to sit there and beat her head against ICE. Fucking puzzles gave her a headache. Sure, it was expensive, but being part of Arasaka meant she got the best goodies. After a few minutes, the camera system at the checkpoint powered down, as did the turrets. Good work, chica. Jackie offered as he slipped out of the van and nearly crawled into the guard's window looking for the switch to open up the dividing bar blocking them. Dee snorted at the sight of her big chum's ass shaking around, barely held in by his jeans as he struggled to find the right switch. Jackie was practically crawling into the little window. Jack. We gotta get you into the gym more, chum. She whispered to him, teasing. Hey. You know the chicas love a little, oh, hold up. Found it. He grunted a bit as he finally got himself out of the window as the bar rose up and slipped into the truck to drive onto the property. All right, Jack, it's real now. So watch your shots, and your head. Let's try to get through quiet at first, then fast. Maybe we can get in and out before the snipers they probably have set up get us. I remember that plan V. We tried that plan last time. It didn't go so well, Hermana. Jackie teased, even if he was in game face. But V couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed even through the biomon dampening everything. The garbage chute worked. She hissed back. He turned to look at her just as he was about to slide out of the van, having parked in a shadowy corner of the lot where a few other vans were parked out. Not a good sign, but Jackie's look took all of her attention. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Not a word. She told him with a glare. Sure, leaping into a trash chute hadn't been her greatest plan, but it had worked. Heh. You pulled that out of a movie. Still can't believe we survived. I swear I still got bumps on my ass from the landing. You landed on me. She reminded him. As they both gathered together at the side of the warehouse, checking around to make sure no one was there. Yeah, but Hermana, you're all chrome. You broke my ass. I'll break your ass, alright, chum. Now shut up. She demanded as they moved. Jackie easily fell into lockstep. The two had only been on a few gigs together, but honestly, that's all it took. She knew his tells by now. He knew hers. And she trusted him. They went into the warehouse unlike the one they were in a half hour ago. It was brightly lit, a few men in con tao uniforms or armor hanging around, all of them helmets off, relaxing, joking, and drinking from vending machines or office coffee. Jackie was behind her. So V was the tip. Jackie would cover up the slack. Helmets off? Stupid mistake. The Kenshin came up first. She charged the shot, letting the capacitors reach their limit before firing the first time, then swiveled perfectly on target, body, and aim exactly where she wanted it to land. Robotic. She used to like firing guns. Had been damn good at it. But the Arasaka Chrome used a skill chip integration. It wasn't as good in all circumstances, but it could load up a set of moves and perform them perfectly in a blur. For an operative, that was too useful to pass up. Not that she had a choice. Everyone got the standard package after all. Now it was just targeting and letting the chrome work. Bodies started dropping, but it took a moment before the con tao noticed. A moment longer than they had, because the second one of them did notice her Shingen came up. The reason she used smart weapons. The skill-chipped chrome was good, but unable to adapt. Smart weapons mitigated that factor. She started firing, Jackie right behind her, his new covering her back as she waded in, flowing from cover, firing right over it, and sending con tao guards scurrying into the shadows. It didn't save them. She tugged a grenade out of her pocket now that she didn't need the Kenshin and threw it exactly where it needed to bounce into that particular corner. It activated quietly. The Gash anti-personnel grenade was her favorite. Instead of big loud explosions, you had lasers chopping everyone into bits. Ending another threat. All was silent for a moment after as she scanned the area, her optics counting the corpses, confirming all of the people she had seen were now on the floor, confirmed dead. Seemed so. She didn't relax, she could have missed one. Jackie. Confirm we got all of them, maybe, find the package they took back from the boys, but we need to get out of here. No way we didn't set off an alarm. Jackie walked off, gun raised as he checked his corners. He might be a reckless street merc, but he was still a merc. She checked the floor as well as starting from the opposite side. Hey V, I found it. Jackie called out, coming back, gun at his side and a big metal case held in hand, a sinister grin on his face. Gonna fuck these guys for the shit they pulled. Jackie practically growled. But V was fighting her own urge. Every inch of her Arasaka counter-intel training was telling her to neutralize the non-affiliate, his usefulness at its end, and take the case. She ignored that insanity. pushing every piece of that thought away. This was a favor returned. This time Arasaka would just have to buy the info from Padre, like the rest of the world. Even if it would have been a nice notch in her profile. She nodded to Jackie, no sign of her inner thoughts on her face. Turning around and heading towards the door, it was time to get out of here. Just as she reached it, her chrome reacted, activating her Sandy, which caused the acrobatic skill shard to force her into a roll towards the nearest cover without any thought from herself. Which meant she vanished just as heavy fire burst through the opened entranceway that would have sprayed her down. Reinforcements were here. Fuck. Fuck. That fast? Not possible. This was a fucking drop-off spot. Not a hub. Kong Tao couldn't just keep a full company of troops here. Arasaka, Militech, all of the big players wouldn't allow it. Unless this was the team meant to come by and secure the case they were stealing, because it might actually be important. Fuck. Jackie? She asked after her Sandy turned off. The Sandy cool down had her huffing and puffing as she instantly felt overheated and sick. I'm alright, V. He yelled back from behind a support pole. Good. Shit. She peeked and ducked back, letting a few rounds bounce off the wall before sticking a hand over the edge of the wall and firing. Her Shinjen held the lock for a few seconds, and putting some rounds down got her some cover. She leapt, rolling away from the entrance and gaining actual mobility. Ideas, V? Jackie asked, having fired a few rounds himself while she moved. See any trash chutes? She demanded, and the laugh that escaped him helped a little. Even if it was the realization they were in deep shit. She peeked again. No lock engaged at her quick glance, they were behind cover now. Armored and carrying heavy weapons. Maybe a back entrance? Jackie called and V shrugged. He had been the one to look back there. You see any? Nope. Well, that's fucking helpful then, isn't it? She snapped at Jackie, but he just shrugged and then ducked back, going to see what he could find while V held the entrance. She just sighed, peeking and firing 2 rounds to scare a few brave Kong Tao back into cover. They would hold for a while. At least until they had enough men. Or an AV. Fuck, Kong Tao AV would definitely be on its way. Anything? She called out, and Jackie's head peeked out from the back of the warehouse. It's all solid back here. He replied as he then started moving back towards the entrance, slipping cover to cover. Dodging a few ringing shots. Great. She peeked out, snapped off a few more shots that might have hit, or not. The Kong Tao armor wasn't complete garbage. More than capable of saving them from a couple rounds. Got any smart ideas, Chica? Bum rush them? She offered sarcastically. It took a moment to realize Jackie didn't respond back, and as she looked over her shoulder, the look on his face. He was actually considering it. She reached around and grabbed an old bolt and chucked it at him. We are not bum rushing them. Oh. Hey, I was just considering it. No harm in that, right? He patted his head where she had donked him. It's too bad you guys sent away your backup, huh? A new voice spoke from inside. She spun her Shinjen up, searching. Where? Motoko? Jackie's voice caused V to only slightly relax. What? The kid? Sup, Jackie? The voice was suddenly clear, and its origin appeared as a hand waved over the edge of the catwalk above them, well out of sight of either of them and from the entranceway. Suddenly, a purple head of hair poked over, making V realize the girl had been just fucking laying on her back? Directly above her. V realized with a chill. You want help now? Then, she was sure just to piss her off, there was a crinkle, and the girl stuffed a chip in her mouth. Huh. You enjoying your break, Motoko? Hey, don't blame me for letting you guys have all the fun. I try not to interfere in gigs I'm not invited for. Want some? She offered the bag of chips to Jackie, who despite being in a firefight, seemed to delight in the situation and nodded. The kid rolled it up and tossed it over. We aren't eating right now. What the fuck, Jack? What's the kid doing here? Don't know. You followed us, Motoko? Technically you followed me. I was there when you got the location, remember? I left first. You old guys are slow. But seriously? You want some help? I accept payment in eddies and fun adventures," she said in a teasing tone, and Jackie just started cracking up. "Hermanita, if you can help us out a bit, I'd love it." "You have something in mind?" "Already breached the gonk's defenses. I'll blind the whole group, we mop up and get out of here. They're all talking about an AV coming in to just blow holes in the building until we die. So let's do it quick fast, alright?" "Fuck. Fuck." Jackie and V both uttered together, looking at each other, and Jackie grinning at the synchronicity of the statement. "Do it. How long will they be blind?" "Please. This is my shit," the girl said, suddenly slipping almost off the edge of the catwalk, revealing she was actually wearing Kontao armor. "They'll never see again." And with that ominous reveal, the purple-haired girl hanging from her knees from the catwalk upside down just turned towards the doors. The open doors that had a full Kontao squad outside of. The squad that she should be in full view of, and she started firing. "You waiting for me to count down or something, chums?" she asked while still firing, holding a copperhead of all things. "Ugh. An Akota and Militech chrome arms?" Fuck, this girl's equipment offended V at every level. Using those shitty core equipment. But she put that aside, as Jackie was already moving, running out the door looking to kill the group blocking them from leaving. So V didn't hesitate. She followed even if it meant she was about to die. Yet, she didn't. As she raced out, there were no gunshots. The Kontao guards were seemingly trying to shoot, but nothing was happening, and none of them were pointing in the right direction anyways. They were blind. She charged, fired her shingen as fast as she could until it was dry, and then holstered it. Then she leapt and her mantis blade slipped out. For just a moment, V actually felt like herself, as she sliced through gunks that needed to die. This was the one piece of chrome that wasn't controlled by Arasaka chipware, and mandates from the on high, and all sorts of bullshit. Jenkins had okayed her request for them only after she had proven herself reliable. Now if only she could get Jenkins to allow her to carry her fucking LMG around. Stupid operator pistol bullshit was so fucking boring. Her poor baby wasn't Arasaka enough for counter intel. So she was always stuck with these fucking pea shooters. But these thoughts were in the back of her head as she ripped and cut through helpless blind Kontao guards until the entire blockade at the entrance of their little black site was dead. It felt good. Then it was over. And her implants suit her enjoyment into that morass of just existence. Phew. That was pretty lucky, hey V? Jackie asked, smiling in that dopey way as she calmly closed her arms back up. The blood would be cleaned and mess would be cleaned with the internal systems without her input. Lucky. Your street kid followed us. She grumbled, then jerked as she turned around, and the girl was right there. Seemingly having been checking out her blades. I was here first. Technically. Since I found the info and arrived first, you followed me, she said. Teasing. I like your mantis blades, always thought about getting a set. My condor were sort of an emergency buy. I know you are going to say something Arasaka, but what's your best suggestion for a set? She asked, surprising V, but before she could even process, Jackie cut in. Ladies, before we meet and greet. Let's get out of here before more Kontao show up. Jackie begged. Oh yeah. The kid said, and then surged away, bouncing up and over a Kontao van, leaping right over the fence. The sudden movement caused V to jerk a bit, nearly trying to shoot at what startled her. She grumbled at the kid's sudden moves, looking at Jackie for some commiseration. That kid, V started, and Jackie chuckled. She kind of grew on me too. Come on. Let's grab this one and Delta. Jackie said, and only V's desire to not get killed by a combat AV kept her from arguing. Growing on her? Not even a little. She shook her head and focused. They still needed to get out of here. Chapter 98. V. It was time to get the fuck out of here. V ran straight towards the first van, Jackie right behind her. She might make fun of Kontao as a corporation, but that didn't mean they wouldn't send enough hardware at her to end her bought and paid for ass. She slid right through the driver door into the passenger seat, Jackie right behind her as he instantly started up the car and started driving. There was a parking garage a few blocks away that they could stash the van, call in their own rides, and get out of there. Then all of this would be over with, and she could go home and get drunk. Which is why she really wanted to murder her luck as she caught what was happening out of the corner of her optics, and reached out and grabbed the wheel from Jackie and spun it moments before they would have even left the warehouse gate. The van spun out. Jackie cursed, but they both survived the high-caliber rounds and missiles that shattered where the van had been a moment before. The feel of the van knocking around from the impact of the high explosive causing her stomach to flop as it just barely managed to stay on its four wheels. They were stopped though. Whether the van was damaged, or just pinned on what was left of the entrance checkpoint's little hut, was up in the air. She looked around and grimaced. The other vans were now burning wrecks, smashed and crumpled from the power of a corporation not playing around anymore. An AV was here. Fuck. Shit, Hermana. I don't think we are outrunning that. Jackie admitted, trying to back up, probably to head back into the warehouse to get some cover, but the van was sputtering, and they weren't moving. V looked around. They wouldn't make it back inside the warehouse. But there wasn't any other cover. Even the fencing was chain link. Then suddenly, the sky lit up. The sound reached her. Hissing fuel and shrieking air. V looked away, not willing to look at her end. But she noticed that Jackie, who had a second before been looking backwards while trying to reverse the truck, had calmly looked forward at the sound. A man to the end, her Jack. Looking straight at his death, staring it down. V would remember to tell him that, because that wasn't today. The explosion was far enough away. V realized she wasn't dying. A rocket had been fired, but not at the van. As the AV was lining up for a landing, probably to disgorge troops, or just block the road while broadsiding them, a rocket slammed into it. A horrid rancor of erupted steel and fire echoed out as the AV spun from the blow. V knew AVs. They were tough fuckers. One rocket wouldn't completely kill it. Maybe mission kill it for a bit, but it wasn't a fucking movie or something. It wouldn't blow up. It should be able to stabilize and reorient, or at least safely control crash. But the missile had nearly hit the cockpit. It was damaged enough that V was sure it must have jumbled the pilot, chrome or not. It spun, and before it could stabilize, it slammed into a nearby building. The horrible noise as it ground itself into the concrete stonework was bad enough. Then it tilted with a sharp jerk, something catching on the interior of the building, and then there was no saving it as it was pointing straight down. It came loose and smashed down onto the street, crushing a car beneath its flaming bulk. Then there was silence for a minute as she barely breathed, just taking in the fact she wasn't dead. Then the silence was broken. I fucking knew I would need this someday. Fuck you, Saul. A yell absolutely blasted from their right, and V looked out the window and couldn't help but stare at the kid. The kid had a fucking Urigan rocket launcher. Who the fuck gave a teenager a rocket launcher? Then, much to V's confusion, while she was standing on top of a black Nomad Quadra 66, arms raised above her head holding the rocket launcher between them. The kid was shaking it up and down, then she started making a honking noise? Van is fucked. Jackie interrupted her from the horrified shock at what she was seeing. Right, we need to go, she said, kicking the door open and jumping out. There were plenty of other vans. Or there had been. Fuck. The roar of engines as another Con Tau van turned onto the road, obviously driving like mad. Shit. Come on, you old folks. Get in the car. The fucking little brat yelped as she jumped down and tossed the rocket launcher into her open trunk before slamming it shut. The desire for V to scream about what would happen if that launcher went off while in there was just thrown away, because this entire gig was now officially shit show status. She raced around the gate. Jackie puffing along right behind her as he carried the big metal case that was the cause of all the trouble. I drive. V yelled as she raced towards the car, but the purple-haired girl took the time to turn, give her a single look, and then slide into the driver's seat. Fucking little shit. The car roared to life, and for a second V wondered if they were about to be abandoned, but its tires screeched and it spun out, flipping it around and revealing the open passenger door towards both of them. Run faster. The kid yelled back, and V grit her teeth. A gunshot rang out, and then another. Jackie, get in. She yelled as she hit the side of the car and turned. Shinjen pulled free and unloading towards the van that was racing at them. As Jackie nearly leapt in, she fired until she was dry and then with an internal sigh leapt in, landing basically on top of Jackie. The moment she was in, the wheels squealed and the quadra kicked, racing down the street away from the pursuing vans. Oh man, you guys. I've been wanting to get in a car chase forever. Jackie. You're my favorite fixer. Don't tell Wakako. The kid said, laughing in delight as she hit an intersection and the quadra roared as it got some air before continuing its race through the streets. Dee and Jackie weren't having such a good time. Jackie was sitting, barely fitting with the case by his feet. Dee flopped over his lap, her legs half out the car. Jackie grabbed me, trying her mana. A bit out of place myself, he said, but his burly arm thankfully grabbed her tight as the street turned a bit and she wasn't flung out of the car like she feared was going to happen. Then a gunshot thunked into the back of the car. Asshole. The kid yelled, angry at the noise. We have a turn coming up. Get your ass situated. She yelled at V. V listened. Reaching up to grab a car handle, she flipped, thanked her crone for giving her incredible flexibility, as she basically turned herself into a ball and spun around. Now her legs were in the girl's space. But Jackie could hold her easier, and V could actually do something. She reloaded her Shinjen as Jackie just sighed at her. Probably irritated, he had to grab her around her chest. Grow up, Jackie, you gonk, these puppies were fucking preem chrome. Chest sticking out of the car. She aimed and started firing at the van that was following her. Trying to drive with your stupid corpo shoes in my face here. The kid yelled and V ignored her as she kept firing. Kid was obviously competent enough, she'd live. Jackie, hold on. I'm drifting. The kid warned and Jackie clamped down on V, which was one part of the warning because a moment later they were suddenly going sideways. Ah! V screamed. She couldn't help it. Her face was very, very close to that light pole and the street, and they were going sideways. Cars don't go sideways. The massive bark of a barrier had her jerk her eyes away from her imminent death to the inside of the car where the kid was actually. Okay, fine. That was maybe slightly preem. The kid was drifting the car while shooting a handgun that she should not be able to handle with her left hand. Then they were straight and the kid returned the gun to her holster a moment later. I missed the driver. Bet I spooked him though. Jackie Grenade. Red top. She demanded, holding out her left hand as she continued driving with her right, eyes locked on the street. Sorry, Hermanita. Hands are a bit full here. Fuck off, Jack. Where are the grenades? Dee demanded. She would punch Jackie for that joke another time, just 'cause he had his hands on her tits. That wasn't funny. Maybe a little funny. Maybe just some teasing at Lizzie's later. Under the seat. Come on, hurry it up. The kid demanded, and V rolled her eyes, leaning into the car and digging around under the seat, which was pretty awkward. Jackie better not make a joke with her digging around his crotch. What the fuck are these? She asked, looking at the very much non-standard grenades. Red top. V found one and handed it over. She had thought about using them herself, but she didn't recognize the brand. Where did you even get these things? Made them. Jackie, jump out of the car with me. V said instantly. Sitting on a box of homemade grenades while in a car chase was not how she wanted to die. Oh, fuck off. The kid snapped back, then with one hand popped the tab, spun the timer on the top and then released. Kid. 1 second. Kid. One cooking potato. The cook offered back and V literally thought she was about to die as the kid just held the ticking fucking grenade. Then she dropped it out the side of the car. A second later it exploded and the quadra barely even rumbled. We're alive? Jackie asked. And V looked to him. The gonk literally had his eyes closed. I made those timers myself. That's why we're worried. V snapped back, but then it got quiet. The van? Took out the tires. They are losing us. I've been running them around this industrial park, gonna get onto the freeway and we'll be long gone. Would you two sort yourself out? You're embarrassing me. The kid joked, flashing a grin, despite her eyes never leaving the road. Where did you find this kid, Jack? She sort of found me, to be honest, Hermana. Jackie said with a shrug. Dee finally just decided to fuck it and relaxed, went limp as she flopped on Jackie for a minute. Jackie, this was a total shit show. Sorta like the border, yeah? Jackie, I've told you. You aren't allowed to make reasonable points to me when I'm angry. She denied him. You two are great. The kid offered, and V seriously considered just kicking her. Nah. She'd probably be the one to die in the accident, not the kid who was wearing her fucking seatbelt. Who did that? When they finally stopped, it was by unanimous consensus. The kid had just pulled them off the freeway in Haywood. Found the first parking lot and basically just slid into a spot. Dee was so done with tonight. Despite the camaraderie filling a piece of her, she knew she would have to smother again come morning. She had not exactly enjoyed the shit show. She oozed off of Jackie, the only way she could actually get out of the car as she finally got free. Ignoring the mess on her hands as she had to pull herself free by crawling out of the car. She rose, flicking her hands to remove the worst, and shifted her shoulders and back, her suit adjusting back to how it should be. Good. She didn't look like she had just gone through hell. Jackie took a bit longer. Untangling himself from the big case they stole. The box of grenades, and just the awkward angle he had been sitting. He got free and stumbled a few steps as he stretched and groaned. The kid popped out the driver's side and rested both arms on the top of the roof, seemingly just watching. Okay, now that I can feel my well, there are ladies present. I'm going to call Padre. Jackie said, cutting him off as he realized he was the lone guy present. Fucking Jackie. Always telling a joke to break the tension. You do that, Jack. Dee said as she looked around. Just a bunch of shops and kiosks. Shame she could use a smoke right now. So instead she focused on the stray. Dee was a meticulous woman. Had to be to last in counter intel. Net running. Shooting. Driving. Heavy weapon on hand. Stealth. That last one was probably the one that, as she made a thought of it, caused her eyes to narrow. The kid had been right above her. Literally laying a few feet above her without a care during an intense firefight. She hadn't even known she was there. She had searched that warehouse. Her eyes were high-end Arasaka optics meant for intel gathering. They hadn't even noticed her. You're all glary right now. The kid offered back with a smirk. You were laying above me on the catwalk. Heh. Yeah, that was funny. You should have seen your face when I spoke up. You whipped around like a freaked-out cat. People don't sneak up on me. She shrugged without a care. I'm an infiltrator. It's my specialty. Wait, should I be telling you this? Hiromi's parents are with Arasaka too. So I guess it's fine. She added, talking more to herself than anything. Hiromi? A few seconds of searching, and she got it. Hiromi Mitsunashi. Only child of Keiko and Albert Mitsunashi. They were unimportant in the grand scheme of things, but they had known about the girl. She did a quick check, and yes. She wouldn't have to have a firm conversation with them. They had updated the Flathead project with information gathered from a contact and even marked it appropriately. But had marked it questionable, which meant it wasn't flagged in the system directly to Intel to look into. A 14-year-old had gotten info on the Militech Flathead? Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Militech were acting like mother bears about that project. Nothing had come out yet. Dee had been on the task force trying to steal the plans. Twice. Who the hell are you? The girl blinked at the question before seeming to smirk as her head disappeared, and a moment later she had leapt onto the top of her car. Glorious infiltrator, Motoko Kusanagi. Net runner and all-around amazing person. Then she struck a pose. Hand on her hip, which was cocked out and making AV with her fingers over one eye. Dee really wanted to shoot her. Yeah. You tell them, Hermanita. Jackie called out as he finally walked back looking pleased, and Motoko seemed to take the attention to heart and puffed up even more. Why was V dealing these idiots? Why was she wasting her time working with a fucking washed-up merc that couldn't ever seem to get himself out of small time, without everything going to shit, and now a teenage wonder that V desperately wanted to either put a few hundreds bullets into or drag back to counter intel. As an experiment or the future super thief, she wasn't sure which yet. So why wasn't she? Come on, Hermana. Padre promised a lot of eddies for all the trouble. Rounds on me at the bar tonight, he said, dropping an arm over her shoulder and pulling V into his bulk in a side hug. The first gentle touch not gained from Joy Toys or people literally trying to honey trap her in. Oh right. She was a lonely friendless gonk, and Jack was literally the only person in the city she could put any trust in without being burned. Fuck it, fine. But you are gonna pay for that, Jack. Hee hee. Go a little easy on me, chum. Fuck no. Half an hour later, everyone pulled into Lizzie's. V's bike had showed up. Jackie just decided to stick with the kid. A runner for Padre had come around and taken the case, freeing them of that concern. I still can't believe you both come to Lizzie's. I've never seen you here. I mean, I don't come here to drink, so that's probably part of it. The girl blathered as soon as V stepped off her bike. We usually hang out in the private booths, Hermana. That must be it. Hey Rita. The little gonk ran off to Rita fucking Wheeler with a hand over her head waving like a kid. Ignoring the line, ran right up and to V's surprise didn't get a bat to the face. Instead Rita nodded her head and sighed without a second's thought. But the kid didn't just disappear, instead throwing a finger to V and Jackie. If V wasn't who she was, she would have missed it. But like Arasaka wouldn't put in listening devices into a counter-intel agent. Rita, these are my chums, we just did this massive gig. We're here to party. Should we get in line? They're here to drink. I'm never sure of the rules of that kind of thing. Wheeler looked over the kid, then Jackie and V before just letting out a chuckle. Heh. It's fine, Motoko. Take your chums in. I recognize Wells and his stiff bitch corpo. Neither will cause trouble. Or else. She said, looking up the last part of the sentence they had been close enough to catch. Rita, you're the best. Well, you owe me one. I want a private rendition of that song of yours. Rita said, teasing smile going wide as the kid gasped. How did you? Judy squealed. Of course she did. She came up the other day legs shaking and needed an actual drink. You okay, kid? Judy said it was pretty brutal. She asked the kid, who looked a little nervous about something. Motoko made a noise before coming together, clearing her throat and straightening up. I'm good, Rita. That was more of a forced experience. I finished the song and it was so brutal and heavy I wanted to set the scene. Just don't watch it. It's not good. Yeah, you should totally not watch it. The girl rambled on, but the fucks waiting outside were making noise and Rita was forced to focus on them. Fuck off. They're allowed. Go on, Motoko, we'll talk later. Remember what I said. You owe me. Never. The kid called out behind her as she slipped inside and rejoined them. So the kid had Mox connections too. V shook it off. She wasn't here for intel. She was here to get fucking drunk and forget all the trouble she would be in come the morning, when Jenkins found out what she had been up to. He would cover for her. He always did. She was too useful not to. But he was still going to grill her ass and probably have her do scop work for weeks. They passed through the bar and grabbed one of the circular private booths along the edge of the bar. Settling in. I'll get us some drinks then. Be the usual? Toko, what are you drinking tonight? Oh, I'll just get a soda, Jackie. I don't drink. Fuck that. V said, slapping the table and pointing. You fought beside us. We survived, we celebrate. Grab her something fruity, Jack. But she's gonna drink it. I don't drink, V. The kid responded back, flatly. No, give it all. V actually felt impressed. Most teens would have folded with just that. You can't toast a new friendship with just soda, Hermanita. Jackie said, having not run off just yet. He reached over and patted the kid on the shoulder. I'll bring something, and if you don't drink it, you don't. But you should at least for the toast. Ugh, you drunks. It's just alcohol. It has no actual meaning. She hissed back, but Jackie was just laughing. Stubborn kid, aren't you? Can be. She settled into the wide booth as V took her own spot and finally relaxed. No one was coming to kill her here. Jackie's crazy gig was done with, and everything was just quiet. Until the girl started humming along to the pop song that was playing above them. Like the song or something? She asked, half trying to point out that it was annoying and half teasing. Fuck, Jackie had been right. She had sorta grown on her. Probably right around the time she had drifted them through that intersection. V could respect a preem line like that. Huh? What? Oh. The humming. Not really. It's kinda shit, to be honest. Bad habit I picked up. I tend to sing along to stuff now. She mentions and just laughs at herself. This stuff isn't my thing. I like samurai and that sort of stuff. V sat up a bit. Chip pin in. V said instantly, and the girl scoffed. Never fade away. Obviously. Never is good, but Chip pin in is the song that speaks best. V argued, pounding a fist into the table. Says the Borg. Never fade away is the best. It does the best job representing human spirit. Never stopping. It's barely even a samurai song. Silverhand wrote it when he went solo, and just integrated it into the band when he came back for their reunion tour. Oh no, the band only played it together on stage during their All Come Together tour. Are you going to say Black Dog doesn't count too? The kid hissed back. Hey, Black Dog even existing is a fucking miracle. Everyone gives it leeway. V retorted back. That song had almost been completely lost when the one copy of it had gone to shit after the Arasaka Tower bombing. Besides, Never Fade Away was shit as a Johnny solo song. It took Carry On guitar to actually make it work. She offered, and V damn near leapt out of her seat. You take that shit back. Without Silverhand, Carrie wouldn't be shit. Oh. Feisty. We got a Silverhand fangirl? Really? The kid seemed absolutely thrilled at this little piece of knowledge. Thanking her hormonal control implant, V just scoffed instead of sputtered. No. I just know the truth. There's a reason that for all his fame and fortune and plat albums and shit, Eurodyne doesn't have the cultural impact Silverhand had. Eurodyne is the better musician. V had to stop herself from popping her blades at the audacity of this bitch. Then she realized. She was having fun. When was the last time she got to talk music with someone? Enjoyed getting into an argument about her favorite band? What was she even doing with her life? When having a conversation with a teenager made her feel this invigorated, she flopped back into the couch, the fight going out of her. She really needed that drink. The intrusive thoughts were getting to her. Chapter 99. V went silent after my victory, with nothing to refute my perfect argument for what samurai song was the best. I settled down as well. V looked tired. Honestly, I kinda wondered who would look more worn. V now, or V dying from the engram? I felt a little sad for the woman knowing her future. Knowing that all the stress and heartache and pain she was suffering under from Arasaka would all amount to nothing. Hell, less than nothing. A bullet to the head, if Jackie hadn't been there. And 2 drinks for Ms. Amigas. Jackie said, showing up with his hands full of drinks, dropping a tumbler in front of V, one for himself, and to my surprise a martini-style glass, and a can of soda in front of me. You don't have to drink the alcohol, Hermanita, but me and V do this every time after a gig, it's our little tradition. He said as he settled down. V? I'm fine, Jack. Just been needing a drink. V said, arching an eye at Jackie, who chuckled. Sorry, chum. The lines were a little long tonight, had a big group dropping off like 40 orders right in front of me. He just laughed it off, and V looked for a second like she was going to go bust some assholes down to size, but just shrugged it off and grabbed her drink. To good fortune. V offered. To good friends. Jackie replied back. To the good fortune to have good friends. They both said at the same time and then looked to me. Ugh. Miserable bad influence adults. I grabbed the stupid martini glass. To adding new friends to that list. I added on my own and Jackie burst into a bright smile. I guess I had done well. Then we clinked out drinks and took a swallow. Bleg. So gross. A thing of beauty. I know. Will never fade away. I shouted out, standing on top of the table V right beside me singing along with me. The corpo woman had a pretty good voice. Motoko. Get off the table. Rita. Hey. Hold on, the song's almost done. I called back. I don't know why she winced. I had just yelled a little. We were partying. V and I were great chums now. Sure, she was a little drunk, having been absolutely hammering back shots, but that was okay. One of us had the brilliant idea of requesting some samurai songs from the system, and one thing led to another. I don't remember exactly who got up on the table to sing first, but I was having a great time. Oh no, you don't. There was a jumble of movement or something there, and the next thing I remember is waking up as I crash into a pile of trash bags. It had been surprisingly gentle though. You able to get a handle on these too? No peeprop-prob. I can do it. Come on now, Hermana. Hermanita, let's stand up, yeah? Jackie was there and I blinked, raising my head out of the trash. You okay there, kid? Rita asked, and I checked myself. No injuries. I threw her a thumbs up. You good to have these two help you get home? She asked as well, glaring a bit at Jackie, which was unfair. He was really struggling with V from the looks of it. Was the corpo woman passed out face down in the trash? Oh no, she was just puking. D and Jackie and I are chums. I called out in response. I even reached out and pulled V's head out of the trash. The regurgitated flood of nastiness meant I quickly let go of her hair, ignoring the slimy plop as she fell back. We'll be okay, Rita, honest. I'll drive them home. Jackie offered. The man sounding a little tipsy. You shouldn't get so drunk, Jackie. Wait. Driving and drunk? No. Drunk driving is bad. Bad ad. I'll call a cab. Yay. I blinked awake instantly. Unfamiliar ceiling. I muttered as I rose up and stretched. Oh gross, what died in my mouth? I grunted, wanting to stick out my tongue at the taste, but other than that I was fine. No headache or anything. I patted myself down, noticing most of my gear was settled on the table next to me, but my Kong Tao armor was missing. I don't remember what happened to it. Looking around, I tried to figure out where I was. The array of men's stuff around the room gave me a hint to where I was. This Jackie's place? I asked, looking around in surprise. I was on his couch, with a little blanket strewn over me. Oh, you awake too, kid? I sat up, and there was V. Not a hair out of place. The corpo woman looked like she was ready to step into a boardroom or a battlefield. You can just call me Motoko. I told her as I got up and stretched. It hit me then. Oh man. I got drunk. I hated that. It was so gross. Huh, no hangover or anything, huh? Must be nice to be a kid. Poor Jackie is still laid up. Heh. Really? Yeah, nasty hangover. The oaf. Dee said as she sipped on a can of something. I'll be heading out soon. Kid, it wasn't horrible working with you. Is that your nice way of saying I'm more competent than you expected and I'm useful? I asked as I took a seat across from her. She scoffed, but didn't actually deny my words. So I threw her my deets. Really? She asked with an arched eyebrow. Hey, I know what it's like up in that stuffy office they probably got you in. If you ever need someone you can trust to watch your back, I am a merc. I explained, and she seemed kind of surprised at my words for a moment before her face blanked as always. I'll keep it in mind. She sends her own deets back, giving me a number and even an email, although it was a .arasaka address, which meant I wasn't going anywhere near it. Oh, I looked into our little jaunt last night. Kong Tower frothing mad, but they don't have much to go on. I'd suggest you get your car repainted, maybe reset the ID, and don't let it spread around. It wasn't exactly a big deal, I said honestly. I mean, you don't see AVs much in the game, but that was engine limitations. Those things are everywhere in Night City. I'd honestly been surprised I hadn't gotten involved in an aerial chase through the city until now. Pfft. You took out a Kong Tao AV, kid. You do know the price tag on those things, right? Million or something? More like 20. She said with an actual laugh. And worse, it crashed in the city. NCPD, get involved for things like that, which means KT is paying fines and bribes to make it go away. Like I said, alter your car a bit and keep it quiet. I hesitated but nodded. Shame. I wanted to make a BD of that explosion. Commemorate it a bit. V went still for a moment before speaking. You record BDs while on gigs? Yeah. It's preem. I have a chum with the mocks that edits and then another that sells them off. I explain in a rush, happy to share. V just shakes her head. Not sure if that's preem or just crazy. Be careful, kid, and don't put me in any of them. Last thing I would need is my boss finding out. Deal. Alright, I'm out. I already checked on Jack. If you're feeling good, feel free to leave when dash. You bitches. A voice screamed out as the door opened and a woman I didn't know stomped in. She started absolutely going off in Spanish, which my limited vocabulary recognized most of them as insults. Hello to you too. You're Camilla, right? Dee said calmly, seemingly unbothered by the slightly short Spanish woman that was ranting and raving at her. Oh, and me. The woman spit out something at me too. Who wants to know some home-wrecking whores in my Jackie's home? I blinked. Did. That's right. Jackie mentioned he had an output. So this was the girl that Jackie had left, eventually dating Misty. The girl that Mama Wells had preferred. Huh. No accounting for taste, Mama Wells. I'm V. An associate of Jackie's. Yeah, I'm sure he associated with you all night, you dash, and there was the string of Spanish added on. Awkward. This was so awkward. My cringe meter was absolutely blasting, and that thing was broken half the time. Hey, how about we all take a second? Jackie V and I all had a gig last night. We didn't do that, I said, waving my hands in different shapes to show the things that we didn't do. Before the woman could turn to me and start exploding because she was definitely about to, Jackie came stumbling out of his bedroom. Jackie looked like shit. I almost wanted to giggle as he stumbled into the room, clutching his head. Voice croaking as he barely could open his eyes. Cammy? That you? Everything all right? He asked as he stumbled over and finding the right woman pulled her into a hug. But she slapped him away and started screeching. Ow. That was making my head hurt, and I didn't even have a hangover. Jackie looked utterly fucked up. Jack. I'm gonna head out. Dee said, showing zero sympathy as she just walked out after everything, leaving poor Jackie to his fate. I followed after her, because I wasn't a gonk. Dee and I split up, and I did as she recommended. Jackie had dropped some eddies into my account last night at some point, so I just headed over to a detailing shop. This time my Reaver didn't look like a Raffin vehicle, so it only cost a more reasonable amount to redo the black paint and add some purple in for highlights. By the time it was done, I had already modified the identification with a bit of net running, and it was lunchtime and I was getting hungry, so I stopped for some noodles. Oh, and my Kong Tao armor had been in the passenger seat. I must have taken it off at some point. Then I pulled open my system alerts. I had to whistle a bit as I looked through the alerts. Blowing up that AV had certainly given me a nice stack of engineering XP from the Urigan. And a level up. Engineering skill level up. Geez, that skill was so low. And it still made no sense why engineering had to do with explosions. I shook it off and continued going down my list. Assault XP, Assault XP. Assault level up. Assault skill level up. Assault 6. I guess using my assault rifles instead of just defaulting to my Beria all the time came in handy. Ah yes. New levels. Driving skill level up. Driving 7. I guess that race through the city while being shot at had helped me out. Well, that and my daily driving. That was all my skill upgrades from the night of hell raising with V and Jackie, but that wasn't all I pulled out of the wreckage. 750 XP gained. 750 XP gained. 750 XP gained. 750 XP gained. A short burst of XP in the middle of the fight. That was where I blinded everyone and shot a few guys. But then there was the big bunch. A single 1000 XP stack, and then 5 more 750 drops. In the end, I wasn't quite at a new level up, but I was very close. Considering it had all happened sort of on accident. I would have to do something nice for Jackie as thanks for all that XP. I'll wait, he wouldn't know what I was talking about. Better to just be there for another gig if he ever needed me. I slurped up the last of my ramen and dropped a tip to the ramen chef who gave me a bow as I headed out of the shop. I'd been running around doing gigs a lot recently. Time to go get some more songs. I decided as I stepped away from my empty bowl of ramen. Despite only being Rocker Boy 7, it wasn't hard to basically recreate songs. Any mistakes I made while recording them through my music box were easily fixed with a bit of digital chop shopping. But it was a nice time waster. Each song had to be played through multiple times, then multiple times on top to fix errors. Then mashing it all together, which took more time. The very second song I wrote out for my box? Never Fade Away by Samurai. Maybe I would bug V sometime and get her to co-vocal it with me? I had been pretty drunk, but I still remember noting her voice was really good. The song after that, I went with something that didn't exist. Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. It was a simple song to work on and grind some more experience. I mean, some of the songs were incredibly technical, and it was only because of a perk giving me perfect memory that I could remember how they went. Nirvana was simple by comparison to The Only Thing They Fear. Not that it wasn't a good song. I mean, it would fit right into Night City. The first lyric was "Load up on guns, bring your friends." If there was ever a song lyric that fit Night City, that was it. So I added the song to my list. Enjoying crooning aloud as I recorded the audio. As I was finagling the drum track, which was taking a while, considering I had to do it completely digitally. June got home, opening the door and seeming to relax at seeing me camped out on the couch like normal. "You left last night," he commented as he put down some of his stuff. His katana joining my own on the katana rack near the shrine. Jackie called me for netrunner help on a gig. I told him leaving out all of the actual exciting bits. "You could have left a message," he said, and I nodded at that. He was right. I mean, I hadn't because June might have tried to stop me, or follow along, but I could have. He sighed, seeing I wasn't going to actually do the right thing and say I will in the future. "You okay?" "Oh, I'm fine. I met one of Jackie's chums. V's so cool. Arasaka, counter intel. She has this 'I'll kill you and destroy your entire family' aura about her. But she can sing Never Fade Away, so she isn't all bad." June blinks at my rather odd words, before seemingly deciding asking isn't worth the effort. "Counter intel? Those kinda of people are crazy. I'm not sure I want you hanging out with someone like that." "Nah. V's more Jackie's chum. They saved each other on some gig. I didn't get the deets. Anyway, she's safe enough. I don't think I'll hang out with her, without Jackie or something," and he's like, her weakness. She goes all buttery soft around him. It's adorable. They input-output? Nope. I think they might have something there, but neither is willing. I think V's life is just complicated. I shrugged, deciding to take a break from this drum section. "And the gig he pulled you into?" "Break into a corpo laptop for some info on where something was taken. When I got there, everything was quiet. Took me like 10 minutes to break in." "You were out all night." "Motoko, you're avoiding saying what you actually did on the gig. You always blab about the entire adventure when I ask. I usually have to leave to get you to stop." Rude. Avoiding the question. "Okay, fine. Yeah, the corp was Kong Tao. Some minor gang of kids clubbed a car that had some stuff in the trunk. Kong Tao wanted it back, and killed the kids. Jackie was hired by Padre to get the stuff back, mostly in revenge for the killing and well. I followed Jackie and V on the gig as their backup. Shit got a little crazy. Define crazy. June said flatly, and I winced, before looking around a little. Okay, first. You can't tell anyone. Dee mentioned Kong Tao has no idea who did it, so that's good, because they are pissed. What did you and your chums do? Well. This is more of a me thing? June was done paying attention to his gear that he was taking off. He walked over and sat on the couch glaring down at me. I blew up an AV with my rocket launcher. It crashed and made a massive crash, and June knew it was the coolest, most preem thing ever. I'd been wanting to tell someone all day. I let it all out in a rush, making an explosion motion with my hands, to emphasize how amazing it was. I blew up an aircraft. I always wanted to do that. Fucking hell. June said as he tried to process what I had done. It wasn't like you could just walk up to someone you know and say you shot down an airplane with a rocket launcher and not have it be a bit of a deal to process. So I remained quiet, just squirming under June's gaze as he came to a conclusion about how he felt. Ow. He hit me right on the head. Don't go to war with the Corps, you idiot. He hissed at me quietly, obviously not wanting to shout something so incendiary through the walls. I didn't. High explosives is an escalation. Well. Fine. I'll get a Tektronica grad and use that as a net rifle instead. I'll just snipe the pilots. Ow. Don't blow up AVs. Fuck, I can't believe I have to explain this. Okay, fine. I'll leave the AV fuckers alone. I'll just kill everyone they drop off if I ever run into them or something. Just stop putting yourself in situations that Corps are sending AVs at you. I've never had this problem. I considered it. He had already hit me twice, so you know what? Wow, that's pretty sad, June. You should get on my level. There was silence for a moment between us as we locked eyes. Ow. Chapter 100. I slept a full 8 hours after that. Woke up to a warm sunrise over Night City that I could only just see outside the apartment window. Did the normal morning things. Had breakfast, watched TV, realized NCTV still sucked, and in the end just didn't do anything serious. And in the end I was rewarded. Hiromi called asking if I wanted to meet up for lunch. Giving me something to do other than be lazy around the apartment. Turns out she meant for us to meet up on her lunch break from the academy, but I wasn't going to complain. Because Hiromi had a surprise when I picked her up. I pulled in across from Arasaka Academy into a waiting area, and idled while waiting for Hiromi to show up, that I was actually surprised when someone walked up to the car, and only when I noticed her did she strike a pose. Hiromi had chipped in some chrome. She had new optics. It was the thing that caught my eye, as they were glowing in a hypnotic swirl of colors, although mostly her eyes remained a neon green. Her favorite color. I was staring as she slipped into the quadra. My scan was blocked as I was so interested in what she had chipped in. High-end Arasaka optics for sure, stuff that competes with Kuroshi, definitely. She also had some changes to her EMP threading as well, and her neon makeup. The threading was darker now. My previous assumption that I would end up with Goth Hiromi had been fairly accurate, as the lines were now a more matte black to match her other new chrome. She definitely had some sort of hand chrome now, with all the black plastic and metal that wrapped around her fingers and a bit over her knuckles. Preem chrome Hiromi. I finally said after checking out all the changes for a moment, and I could tell she was preening under the attention. Oh, these little things? Nothing big. Just some minor changes. She faux played down her changes, and I couldn't help but giggle at her attempts. How's it all feel? Any issues? No, it's no big. She denied instantly, but I wasn't going to let it go with just that. I reached over and grabbed her hand with mine partially to catch her attention and also to examine the new chrome. If you ever have trouble, it's not something to be ashamed of. My arms gave me trouble, and I'm glad I talked to people about it. I told her, eyes meeting her own, and I could see the swirl of colors in them shift suddenly even faster. Woo. It's fine. Minor alterations, for the most part. Most of it is just some upgrades, new eyes with better scans, and some hand chrome that will help as an Arasaka goon. Executive. I should probably stop saying that. She muttered, and I laughed at her as she blushed a little. I reached out then, tracing a finger down the dark EMP threading going along her cheek. No more kitty whiskers, huh? She was flushing a lot at me pointing out her old aesthetic. It just felt childish. So I changed a little. It looks okay? Yeah, it's preem. I like goth Hiromi. She's cute. G-goth? What the hell is that? Hiromi asked, and I had a moment of complete brain shutdown. Goth wasn't a thing. It's a thing. With stuff? Anyway. You look cute. I always did like the Arasaka aesthetic, to be honest. I told her, and while she didn't look like she was going to let it go, she did preen again under my words. Well, good. Come on, let's get some food. I only have so long for a lunch break. So thanks for coming to pick me up. I wanted to see you, to show off my new chrome. I nodded quickly, pulling out of the little park and really just heading a bit down the street to an area with some food shops. The chrome is absolutely preem. I continued to assure her as we pulled in and took a few minutes to order. I ended up eating some weird fancy wrap thing. It had lettuce? No, I'm pretty sure that wasn't actually lettuce, but I was pretending. Really hard. Thankfully Hiromi wasn't just wanting to show off her chrome, and was distracting me. It's so boring, Motoko. She whined as she stuffed her own wrap in her face as she sat with me in the quadra. School is important. I know. It doesn't make it any less boring though. She grumbled. I saw your newest BD. She said suddenly, and I jerked as I realized the last BD one had dropped had been that one. Oh. You okay? It didn't make you sick or anything, right? What? Come on, Motoko. I don't entirely get why you hang out with the mocks, but Judy is definitely a maestro when it comes to tuning BDs. No way I would get sick. It was fucking preem though. That first drop? I felt like my stomach was going out of my throat, but you just hit the ground in a roll and were off. Hiromi made a few punching motions with her fists. I didn't really know what to say, as I was a little embarrassed at how brutal that particular engagement had been. It didn't bother you? The whole, I rolled my wrist as I couldn't find the word. No way. It was exciting, and knowing it was you behind it all only made it way more preem. She assured me. I see why you wrote that song though. It really did fit way better with the action. Yeah. It's meant to be a song that plays during a brutal fight. I muttered, a little embarrassed that Hiromi had actually seen it. She wasn't supposed to see it. It was very preem, it's getting super popular. All the rich kids are buying it. This one had so much brutality, even the normal XBD watchers wanted it. She informed me as she took another bite of her wrap. The only thing they fear is you. Preem title. That's the name of your song? Yeah. Yeah, that's the name of the song. It's not too weird? I was right. It was so awkward having my bestie see that BD. I shouldn't have made it. Stupid past, Motoko. Not at all. A lot of XBDs have weird names. Seriously, I've handled so many weird BDs over the last couple weeks. I only agreed to help Nox sell to the Academy kids so I could make sure everyone could see your preem BDs. But I've had to deal with a lot of trash. I even had to do a hostile takeover of this street kid that goes to the Academy. He was selling stuff, but he was selling the BDs like some weird corner hawker. Wait. Some kid was selling BDs in the Academy? And why did that sound familiar? I asked myself, already knowing the answer. Yeah. Some street kid that got in on grades. Which is totally weird, by the way. Anyway, you'd think some smart kid would know how to sell BDs, but he was hawking them like a back alley dealer. Barely anyone bought from him. I took his little attempt and turned it into an actual business. she said, flipping her hair with one hand. That's really impressive, Hiromi. I chirped, and I could see her face go red at my compliment, even if she side-eyed me a bit to make sure I was actually being sincere. Which I was. I couldn't set up a business like that. Ugh. I can't look at you with your dopey smile. I have to get back to class anyways. Thanks, Motoko, for coming to spend time with me, she said as she slipped out of the quadra with a wave and then a little jog to run back to the academy. I just laughed at her fleeing form as I started the car and pulled out of the little parking the food shops had. It was too bad. I was pretty sure the kid Hiromi had taken over the BD business from was David. I still wanted to meet the gonk. Someday, I decided. Hey Rita, I called, drawling out the greeting a bit at the look the older woman gave me. Give me one reason I should ever let you inside again? She asked, arms crossing over her chest. Coos. I'm super duper sorry about causing trouble. It won't happen again. Don't drink for a reason, you know? Rita kept the unamused look on her face for quite a while, before finally it cracked and she laughed at me. Well, at least a little trash dive hasn't hurt your ego too badly. Nah, I'm okay. I only kinda remember that night. So I guess B and I singing on the table was causing some problems? Oh please, that's barely a problem. The issue is you hacked our music system to play samurai music on repeat. Judy had to come up and reset the whole thing to stop the 10,000 repeats of Never Fade Away. Ooh. I don't remember that. Sorry. Rita huffed a laugh and rolled her eyes. You're lucky we owe you one. Just don't do it again. Deal. I agreed and Rita nodded, making a motion that I could enter, but I just blinked at her. Oh, I'm not here to party or something. I just knew I should apologize for causing trouble, I said, and Rita looked at me. I looked at her. She blinked. I blinked. You came here to apologize? To me? Well, yeah. I caused you trouble. You even had to throw me out of the club. Drunk Motoko can't have been easy to deal with. You were actually docile once I got you off the table. I just had to tell you were in trouble and you were kinda blubbering and going along with it. I definitely didn't blubber. Can you say that for sure? She asked, and I had no real response to that one. I huffed in outrage and Rita once again broke out into laughter. So what are you doing just coming by? Mostly. I just stopped to see Hiromi on her lunch break, and I don't have any gigs or anything for the day. In that case, why don't you come hang with me? I'm getting off soon. You can show me how far you've come with your hobby. Oh, that's right. I do owe you for that. Why don't you come to my place then? I can show you my music box. I just finished a few songs. Rita blinked and then seemed utterly amused at my offer, bursting into a full-body laugh. Sure, Motoko, I'll come over to your house and play, she said, cracking up. I just pouted at her, because that's not what I said. Welcome to my home, I introduced with a wave at the apartment for Rita. Huh. She commented, looking over all my junk still left out on the living room table. Don't just huh. Sorry about the mess though, I muttered, a little embarrassed. Dang it, Rita was a cool older woman. It wasn't fair that my place was a little messy. Dang it, June. Aren't you the responsible one? No, wait. He almost went full cyber psycho. I was the responsible one. Fuck, no wonder our apartment was a damn mess. No one should trust me with responsibility. I shook off that horror-filled realization as I gestured for Rita to take the couch. Want anything to drink? Eat? I'm good, Motoko. I had a lunch break about an hour before you showed up. So this is where you've been working on your hobby? Yeah. Mostly. I mean, I could probably go find a better place for acoustics, but I'm using a high-end mic I picked up for the vocals, and the rest of the tracks are recorded digitally, so I can tweak them if they sound off. Do you want to hear? Rita settled on the couch and gave me one of those cool smirks that told me she was totally humoring me. I was just gonna have to blow her socks off. I went over to my music box and took it from the living room table to set it on the floor and set up the song I was gonna play. Then I grabbed my guitar, doing a few test chords to make sure it was ready. One good thing about the new guitars, no need to tune the strings. It was a digital guitar after all. So this is called Smells Like Teen Spirit. I told her and she huffed a bit at the name, but I pulled my personal link cord out of the back of my neck and slotted it into the music box behind me, and started the song. Instantly behind me, two holograms slowly came together, obviously surprising Rita, as I went into the stuttered chords of the intro. Load up on guns, bring your friends. I crooned the intro to the song. My voice wasn't quite the honey of Cobain, but I could make it a more similar sultry croon with sexy Motoko voice. And I jammed out. A one-woman band. Showing off to the person to originally give me the idea to find a hobby. A denial. I ended the last lyric, letting the guitar finish humming out the final chord. Then silence. The holograms that had been jamming out behind me went out, leaving the room how it was before I started. So, what do you think? I asked the woman. Rita's face had gone kinda blank middle way through the song. I think that's a bit further along than a hobby, she said honestly. I didn't really know how to take that, so I just sort of smiled and probably looked a little uncomfortable. You got talent, Motoko. I'm really impressed. I've never heard that song before either. Ah. I like it, I said. I never was very comfortable with taking credit for work others had done, even if they didn't exist in this world. I do too. It's got a certain flair. Maybe we'll have you come in and play at Lizzie's. No way. I denied instantly. I'm not interested in live shows like that. It would be so embarrassing if I messed up. Pfft. You're adorable kid, Rita said, laughing at me. How mean. I was definitely going to come up with an amazing retort and make Rita apologize when the door opened. Thought that was you playing, June said as he meandered in looking tired. Junie. I greeted, but there was a sudden tenseness in the atmosphere as the two older people noticed each other. Rita was Mox, and Mox were not exactly on good terms with the TC. Oni. Rita finally broke the silence. A simple greeting, but using June's work name. What is up with that? Does everyone know who he is now? How come they know who he is, but not me? This is unfair, bouncer. He greeted back, without any additions. Awkward. I broke in instantly, cutting out the tension. Rita, this is June, my older brother. June, this is Rita. She's the one that helped me start looking for a hobby, so I owe all the music stuff I've been working on to her. I brought her over to show her a song I wrote as a thank you. June blinked, seemingly stepping back from the semi-hostile edge. Motoko's a bit of a gonk, but thanks for looking out for her. I know it's not always easy. Rita took in June's words and just shrugged, seeming to relax a little. I'm used to helping out with the younger girls. Motoko's no trouble when she isn't standing on a table and drunk, singing her heart out. June blinked before a smirk popped across his lips. She didn't share that story. I'll have to get it out of her sometime. Rita. You aren't supposed to share that. But they both just ignored my offense. June wasn't supposed to know I got drunk and thrown out of the bar. He would never let me live it down. Any of Motoko's chums are welcome, June said, breaking up the fact they were ignoring me by then patting me on the head as he moved past. I was just bringing some food home. Hungry? No, but thanks, Rita said back, sounding much more relaxed. Well, if you need anything, let me know. Motoko. You finished a new song? I want to hear, he demanded, and I glared at him. June was up to something. I knew that look on his face, the one where he got all smirky and pushed his chin up like he was looking down at me. Nope. You don't get to hear my awesome cool new song. Well, that's a shame. Rita, right? What's this about Motoko drunk singing dash? Right. A new song I finished, Junie. Why don't you just take a seat for the full experience, and no talking while I sing? In fact, no talking at all. Ever. I demanded, forced to switch gears at my brother's evil, vile blackmail. Despite my best attempts, once I finished off my second rendition of Smells Like Teen Spirit, June and Rita still got to talking about their one and only shared point. So she was dancing on the table? With V, a corpo woman that comes in from time to time. Never seen her get so wild either. It's all Jackie's fault. I groaned into my hands, and June laughed at me, openly amused at hearing about my drunk escapades. I wish I had been there now, he said with a sigh, and Rita chuckled at the two of us as I glared at June in return. Well, now that you both have had so much fun making fun of me, I'm gonna go hang out with cool people, I told them both as I rose up and settled my guitar back on the stand and the music box back off the floor. Really didn't want to deal with someone kicking it on accident. Especially since the only person likely to do that was June, and his stupid Borg feet. Come on now, Toko. It's just a little teasing, Rita said, while still laughing at me, so I didn't give her the benefit of a response, just a huff as I crossed my arms and walked into the kitchen with all my dignity. Bathroom, I retorted as I did just that, going into the bathroom to give myself some space and hopefully have the topic change when I came out. No fair for Rita and June to both pick on me. I was just finishing up when I heard it. A laugh. No. That wasn't a laugh. A laugh is more, ha ha ha. This was more. Tee-hee-hee. That was a fucking giggle. I poked my head out of the bathroom to peer into the living room with my wide eyes demanding explanations, because that was Rita. Rita. Mox bouncer badass, an all-around scary woman, giggling like a schoolgirl with my brother. It was impossible. I refused to believe it, but my lying eyes showed me the truth. Did June have game? Was he actually good with women? Because I was seeing my brother, the TC enforcer, flirting with the Mox bouncer. He must have scored some sort of critical. Because I refused to believe my burrito-obsessed brother who likes garbage like the S-cracks actually has game. Motoko. What's gotten into you? June asked suddenly as he caught sight of my staring. Nothing, I said firmly, but I didn't move my eyes. Instead, I was kept them wide and locked on June and Rita, refusing to accept what I was seeing. As I stayed half poking out over the kitchen counter, Rita caught it after a moment. And I got to see the delightful look of the woman's plastic-looking real skin flush a little in an actual blush. I should get going, she said then, to both June and I's surprise. You don't have to, I argued. There isn't a rush, June said, much calmer than my own response. Don't mind Motoko. She's always like this. She's probably just planning some petty revenge. Petty? No. I appreciate the offer, and the show Motoko, but I should get out of here. This was a surprise, but a good one, she finally said, looking to June, and if I wasn't a super secret mega hacker. And the fact I had totally breached into June's agent forever ago. Mostly for fun. Mostly. Well, I caught the shared deets. Rita. Rita just gave him her number. June looked as gobsmacked as I was as Rita flashed him a smirk, and then looked to me. See you around, Motoko. Keep practicing. I want to see you up on stage someday, she offered as she walked out of the apartment. Wait, what? June's question was cut off as I leapt on him, wrapping myself around his head and squeezing. Was this the idiot flirting with girls under my roof? I yelled, probably loud enough Rita would still catch it. Details. I wasn't flirting, June yelped in surprise as he quickly started wrestling me off him. Unfortunately, he was still much stronger than me, and he was getting used to my holds at this point. Was I? He asked himself after finally pinning me down. Gonk.